What is going on, y'all? You know, if it's Sundays, it is Sippin on Sundays. And let me tell you all something. We have a very, very special Sippin on Sundays, man. We are going to give a tribute to the one and only Charlie Neal. I'm super excited. We got a special guest that's going to come on and talk about the life and times of Mr. Charlie Neal and what he meant to the culture, what he meant to HBCU sports, and the trailblazer that he was. Of course, I cannot do the show without my North Jackson little brother, my guy, North Jackson finest, Zoe Phillips. Zoe, what's going on?
What's going on? What's going on, Steve, man? Shout out to everybody, man. And yeah, we're gonna, definitely get into how could we not, man, with the legendary, historical, all-time voice of HBCU sports, Charlie Neal.
Man, listen. As guys, you can see in the background, I think I've told this story before, but I'm gonna tell it again. My father and Charlie Neal actually worked together in WOK in Washington, D.C. As you can see, that's my father on the left, Soul Papa Campbell. Charlie Neal, Soul Papa was opening up in the morning, so morning ride. And Charlie brought you home in the afternoon. And man, I've got some interesting stories and things, facts and figures that people don't know about Charlie that a lot of people don't know. And I'm great to tell this story. And I'm super excited for the person that's going to actually tell us about Charlie's journey through BET and how he became the person that he is and know and love. But I'm gonna tell you something, Zoe. So I had to call one of my dad's friends. Now, Zoe, we're gonna have to do a two-part with Charlie, because there's two parts of Charlie's life. There was him being radio station disc jockey and the voice of HBCU sports. Now, the good thing about it, let me tell you something. I called my dad's friend, shout out to Bobby Brown, legendary DJ also from DC, all over the United States. And I said, Bobby, tell me about my pop, Soul Papa, and Charlie Neal. He said, Steve, let me tell you something about Charlie. Wherever Charlie went, he had 4 jobs. He said that man never not had a job. Now, Zoe, he told me when they all got hired in I think he said 1969 in August. My father, Charlie, and 2 other disc jockeys got hired. And that's to bring them to WOK #1 station at that time in Washington, D.C. But Charlie would come to the station zone, and guess what? He'd drive up into the station with a bus. And they was, and my man said, my daddy said, Charlie, what with that bus? That's what my daddy told me. What is that? Charlie had a bus company, so that he would drive buses, charter buses. So when he had a charter after his shift, he would go drive the bus zone.
Hey,
so not only that, so think about this. And from what I'm told, to this very day, until recently, he still has this charter bus company.
Hey man, Charlie he said he was on the clock twice.
Twice. So he left DC, went to Philadelphia to work for a radio station in Philadelphia. And again, I want to shout that radio station because this is one of, and as a matter of fact, they're still on the air right now. He went to WDAS in Philly, got hired there and become the operations manager. But guess what, Zoe? He took on another job. Charlie Neal was also a police officer.
So hold on, begin. So his bus company was part-time paddy wagon.
But part-time. And he was a police officer. So every jurisdiction or wherever he moved,
man,
he became a police officer. So when he got the job at BET, he moved to Alexandria, Virginia. And guess what y'all also did? He taught the motorcycle cops how to ride motorcycles. So
wow.
See, this is stuff that people don't know about the late great Charlie Neal. So how did he get into sports? So what happened? And you got to think about this time. In Washington, D.C., of course, all at this time, sportscasters were white. So Charlie always had a love for sports. So while Charlie was working at WOOK, in 1971, he went over there to the NBC station and he was the weekend sportscaster.
Weekend sportscaster.
That's how Charlie actually got into sports. So Charlie doing that and his love, and again, we'll talk about it, and I'm going to let the person that really knows how he got to BET. But that was the journey of Charlie Neal getting to being a sportscaster and being the voice of Black college football and being one. I was thinking about this, though, and we could, we need to come up with a list because you know how you hear about Keith Jackson and Gene Deckerhoff, and all these guys. And what's the guy that just retired from CBS that was doing SEC? The voices of college football.
God, I got a face in my head. I can't think of the name.
Yep. So these guys, but Charlie Neal is on that level of that Mount Rushmore of being the voice of a sport. So it's just amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing started and play a video that I have that I think a lot of people, and this kind of is a tribute that BET did to Charlie, and I'm going to play that video right now.
Okay.
No, not that. That's not what I want. Hold on 1 second. That's not what I want. Let's get back. Here we go. So excited because our guest is here, but here we go. Gonna play this and then.
This year, that Grambling train is a non-stop express. They're unbeaten so far, and a victory tonight will give Eddie Robinson his 324th win. Tonight's opponent, Prairie View, would like nothing better than to derail the express.
Hello, everyone. Charlie Neal here as BET celebrates 40 years in existence. I was with BET from the very beginning as we broadcast our first sports event. It was September 1980, and it was a football game with South Carolina State taking on Delaware State up in Dover, Delaware. That was the start of historically Black colleges and universities getting much needed exposure that they were not getting from the other networks. We also gave viewers a look at future NFL stars like Jerry Rice and future NBA stars like Charles Oakley. I also had a chance to work with some great partners like Jackson State and Pro Football Hall of Famer Lem Barney, and North Carolina Central University and Boston Celtic and NBA great Sam Jones, just to name a few. And one big highlight of every HBCU football game is the Battle of the Bands at halftime, which our viewing audience look forward to each week. We covered all the sports, from talk shows like the Budweiser Sports Report to covering the NBA All-Star Game, World Series, and Super Bowls. BET Sports had the pulse of the African-American community from every angle, which included the United Negro College Fund Celebrity Golf and Tennis Tournament. We broadcast monthly boxing matches from a variety of locations with two-time world heavyweight champ George Foreman as my broadcast partner. We also broadcast a number of celebrity tennis matches from islands in the Caribbean. We were also the official network of the American Basketball League, which came on the heels of the USA Women's Basketball gold medal performance in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. We were also in Atlanta that year to cover all of the Olympic events. Yes, I'm proud to say I was a part of what was Black college sports and a whole lot more. And to that I say, happy anniversary, happy 40th anniversary, BET.
Now, Zoe, let me tell you something. There's only one person. And see, everybody, this is Sippin on Sundays, Off Script Network, Rocky Miller Channel, where we bring history to you. And see, so all these other people talking about they doing, which again, they're doing their tributes, but they're doing it in 2D. They're writing about it. They heard about it. But see, so I'm a historian. And like I told you, Charlie Neal was a family friend. So I had to call somebody who actually knows the history. So you know what? Let me just do this introduction right. Because this person I'm about to bring to the stage, a legend, a Hall of Famer, co-founder and president of HBCU Go, executive vice president of Black Entertainment Network, was there at the very beginning with Charlie Neal, the one and only Curtis Simons. Mr. Simons is in the house. HBCU Go, founder and CEO. Mr. Simons, thank you. How are you doing this evening?
Steve, thanks very much for having me, man. You and Zoe having me tonight. I appreciate it, and I think that you have the right topic tonight to talk about what I call the John Madden of Black college sports, Charlie Neal, who really laid the landscape of what Black college sports is all about. I think it's that a lot of people have underscored the importance of this man because they weren't around him enough to understand what he meant to this community. And what he's left in his legacy, I don't think anyone will ever be able to repeat it, because he was the only one that knew it all. He's the only one who experienced it. A lot of people talk about it. He was one who experienced it. And I think that's why, in my mind, he will always go down as a legend of Black college sports.
Now, listen, Mr. Simons, we could talk about a lot of things, but we have a lot of people, again, and correct me if I'm wrong, BT showed Black college football from 1980 to 2004. Is that correct? Is that about right? Is that my
Right.
number right?
You're right.
So we have a lot of listeners, and shout out to our listeners that are millennials and Gen Z. A lot that were born or right after BT had transitioned with the Viacom and it was no longer BT Sports. But I want you to talk about the very beginning, and how did you all feel and come together that sports was going to be an anchor for BT, and talk about that process and during that time when BT Sports was really, as even to now, really the sports, the name and brand of Black college football. Talk about how that
Black college, Steve. I actually came on board. I was at ESPN, and I came on board to BET in 1988. Okay. So Charlie and Bob Johnson were really the magnificent duel, who really led the landscape before I got there. And I think that one of the things I learned from Bob Johnson when I was coming on to BT is he wanted to be the one-stop shop for Black America. And we were there. The problem was for us with Black college sports when he started it in 80 is that we were way early. The advertising community was not even aware of what HBCU stood for. So we did not get the support coming out the gates that we're now getting with HBCU Go. And so, it was tough for Bob. And then when I came on board in 1988, coming from ESPN, they were showing live sports on tape delay basis. It wasn't live. And I came in 88 and said, whoa, wait a minute. I come from a live world at ESPN. I don't know how you could show sports and show it 2 or 3 days later. That just doesn't rap with me at all. And so I was able to convince Bob that we had to start doing live sports in 88. And then we were able to really start growing our sports because we were doing live. And as Charlie mentioned in the 40th anniversary that you said, we started picking up different areas, track and field, tennis, celebrity golf events, tennis events, a lot of different things, because most people who were dealing in the AA community wanted to come through BT, and having someone like Bob, like Charlie on board, and his network of people that he could bring in with it, it began to really blossom. The problem that we got is that we just couldn't get the advertising support in the 80s, and that's what really knocked Black college football and basketball out, because Bob was like, I can't continue to lose money because we're not making money. And he was all about making that money. So that's what really took BT out. And then that's when ESPN came on after a while and began to start playing in the circle. And then they basically took it over because BT stepped back. And I actually consulted for ESPN after I left BT in 01 and helped them put together. Celebration Bowl was my idea. It wasn't anybody's idea but mine. I told people years ago at ESPN, you need to put a game together that puts the two biggest conferences together, the SWAC and the MEAC. And so John Grant, who was head of 100 Black Men at the time, was doing FAMU and Tennessee State in Atlanta through 100 Black Men. That thing crashed. And so what happened was they were able to pick that up and create the Celebration Bowl. And that's how the Celebration Bowl came alive, bottom line. But, not to my credit, they've really grown it and done the right thing. And they've been doing a good job in it. I think that, still the real push was when Prime came to Jackson State. And then all of a sudden he woke the world up on the importance of HBCUs. And then people started looking at it a whole different way because Prime had a big time following, as you all know. Right. And so he was able to really paint a different picture to the advertising community, to the business community, that it makes sense to get behind HBCU sports. And then when we came on board HBCU Go, it was at the right time now because people were starting to see the blossoming of HBCUs. And it wasn't just looked at, which it had been looked at for a long time, just the bands. You know, there's some great athletes that have come through the HBCU circle. And it was also proven before HBCU Go started through what BT had done. Because when you go, I challenge everybody every day and say, listen, if you go to the college football, if you go to the Hall of Fame in Akron and look at the greats that played in the NFL right there, you'll see the group that leads that Hall of Fame is HBCU grads, some of the best. You know, now what's happened is that the push isn't as hard as it was in the old days to probably get more HBCU players in the league. The NFL has got very smart. The owners have got very smart with HBCUs. They figured out a very good math that I don't have to draft these guys. I just pick them up as free agents, and I can just play them any kind of money. I ain't got to pay them no big money. And then if they make it across the water, then we'll look at how we maybe renegotiate the deal to maybe get you to a spot where it's livable. But in the early days, when they bring them in, it's not livable. They're just basically bringing them in and saying, hey, I'm going to give you some dollars out here. You got to go work for it. And they throw the bone out, and the bone is what you got to grind off of. And then hopefully, as you see with many players, you know, they've been able to overcome that and end up getting some decent paydays out of it. But they had to put some years in to get there. And that math is still working today. If you see, they're still not doing it very much in the world of really drafting NFL players from HBCU schools, which I think is a tragedy that has really caused a lot of problems with the HBCU circle and really put kids now, if you have a good kid from an HBCU background, now this is where the portal comes in, because the kid's saying, look, I got to get out of this HBCU situation in order to get paid. So if I get in the portal and I go over here from a HBCU school to a Power 5, I'm going to get paid. And at the same time, my chances are going to look better at getting a nice payday from the NFL out of the draft. And
well, but Sam, let me ask you a question. So let's talk about, again, you're the CEO of HBCU Go. You give about, when did you immediately know I got to have Charlie Neal being part of this great network and this experiment, which now is a great business, to be the voice for HBCU Go? How did that start and how did that come about? Oh, did we lose him? Uh-oh. I think he froze. Did he freeze? Uh-oh. Let's see.
that's it.
All right, let's see. Oh, there you go. Wait a minute.
Oh, there you go.
Hold on. You froze. Wait a minute. Hold on, Mr. Simon. Wait a minute. You froze up for a second.
Yeah, a little bit.
You want to go back?
Yeah. Were you okay? I was asking a question.
Yeah,
So,
and I dropped out. I saw I dropped out. I didn't know if you could hear me or what was happening.
yeah, no problem. So you get with Byron Allen, you start HBCU Go. How many seconds did it take for you to say, I got to have Charlie Neal to be my voice for HBCU Go? And how did that process happen?
It was already in the making. It was already in the making. When I left BT in 2001, I stayed in contact with Charlie. And I told him that my dream was to create this HBCU Go channel. Took me a long time, but he hung in there. He said, look, man, if you, Curtis, you make this happen, I'm in. You know, and so when I was beginning to start trying to build this thing, he did a lot of voiceovers for me. He did a lot of promos for me. He did a lot of things to help me put the word out about HBCU Go. We did our first sales piece. He was in it, you know, saying that I'm all behind HBCU Go. And so he was there when I started to talk. And then it got to the point where, you know, he kept throwing things at me. You know, what about this? What, can we do anything with this? Can we run this on HBCU Go? And I kept fighting the street, trying to find some money to build it. And we were 12 years into it. And he kept saying, Curtis, you think it's going to happen? You think it's going to? I said, Charlie, I'm believing in the man upstairs. I'm going to put it in his hands. You know, this is my dream. I think we can make it happen. Somebody's going to grab my dream before it's all over. And thank God, Byron Allen came by and decided to help my dream come true. And, you know, it's a blessing, man. I mean, last year when we did the Las Vegas Classic, guys, I remember coming to the Raiders Stadium and standing in midfield, saying to myself, "How the hell did I do this?" You know, I'm in Raiders Stadium. I got Grambling State going against Jackson State, one of the biggest games of the year in 25, and I'm right there. My network's televising this thing live. You know, I was just in awe because we had really made some great strides in 4 years. And we're coming upon our 5th year anniversary in October of this year. And I think HBCU Go has really, really been a great network that's been birthed. I call it the second coming of BT. Yeah. Because I was there for BT for 14 years. And I think it's got the same kind of feel because when I came to Bob in 88, I had the same problem back then that I'm trying to build now. No one knew who BET was in 88. Nobody. I will never forget the first day I was on the job. We had an office in D.C. right on in Georgetown. At the end of the day, I walked outside. I was staying in a little apartment away from my family came up. So I'm walking on the street and I run into 5 black people. Didn't know him from Adam. I just stopped him and said, "Hey, listen, let me ask you something." I said, "Do you know of this network called BET?" And each one of them looked at me like crazy, like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Black Entertainment Television." They were like, "No, what is that?" I came back to Bob Johnson the next day. I said, "Man, you've been out here for 8 years. And we in the heart of DC, and people don't even know what your network's like." I said, "We got a branding problem." And then I began to start figuring out some ways to try to work the branding. And we were able to build some partnerships off of BT that help us get more exposure. And so I'm looking at the same way with HBCU Go. Year 1 and 21, when Byron bought it, you know, in 22 is when I got the first deal with the SWAC, and we got going, and I could wear HBCU Go anything on the street. People looked at me like I was crazy. Now, if I put HBCU Go on anywhere, people are telling me, "Hey, man, I watched that network. I see what you're doing," you know. And that, to me, in 4 years, that's a great stride, man. That's a great stride at the end of the day, you know.
So, quick question for you.
One question, one quick question, and then I'm gonna let you go, Zo. So, Mr. Simon, or were you, when you announced, and I remember hearing that Charlie Neal was going to be part of HBCU Go, was going to be the voice, the play-by-play. Were you amazed of the outpouring and excitement that people saw that Charlie Neal was going to be the voice for HBCU Go?
Well, yeah, because they knew
we're talking about a new generation that had not heard him. I mean,
exactly.
they heard him on ESPN, as you said, but not from the BET days that a lot of us, like Zoe and I, grew up with, and things like that.
But see, the thing about this, Steve, is that Charlie has so big of a following, you know, that you'll now see pouring out, you know, from grandfathers to fathers. I mean, he was so well known. So my biggest crack was the Gen Zs. You know, as far as the true BET world, he was well in place in there. You know, I mean, the thing that's really amazing to me over the last 5 years, I've attended the Black College Football Foundation award ceremonies in Atlanta in June. And on Friday nights, Charlie would always be the guy who would be the moderator of the honorees going in Saturday. And it was always amazing to me. He could come into these things every year with nothing scripted, and he would know the background of every person that's walked through that Hall of Fame. I mean, he's going back to high school, and he's just rattling it off like, "Oh, I remember you gained 200 some yards when you were running back with such. And I'm looking at him like, "How did you know all of that?" He said, "Curtis, I just did my homework and had it in my mind. And some of it I saw, blah, blah, blah." But that's how important he was, Steve, when he came to HBCU Go. And I knew that if I had him as part of my team, it would help me also get him more doors because of that, which it did. And he was able to bring me in a situation like the Black College Football Foundation with Shaq and Doug and all them right off the bat. You know, and that was the biggest thing that Charlie did for the network. He just, you know, introduced us to so many good people in the circle who loved him. And now he's working for HBCU Go. They just passed on the love. Bottom line.
So I just want to ask, since you came over in 1988 to BET, and knowing the BET started 8 years prior to that, while you were there, leading up to now with the start of HBCU Go, at any point per the demise of BET Sports, right? When you were actually in time doing it, did you ever foresee knowing that Charlie Neal would actually rise and be basically like the Keith Jackson of HBCU sports? Did you actually see it and feel that in real time?
Yes, I did. Because BT in that day, so a lot of people, just like with now at HBCU Go, when you got a good black product, man, I learned this in my BT time. The white boys are watching you day by day. They're trying to figure out what you're doing next. And the fact that my boss is Byron Allen, who's always jumping out here doing something, the eyes are always popping. So I knew for a fact, Zoe, that having Charlie as the intricate part of HBCU Go was going to begin to help HBCU Go grow. Everywhere we went, he was like a pop star. Everybody wanted to touch Charlie Neal. And people could go back and start to, I give you a classic example. Otis Birdsong was with me last year at a golf event. The first time I met Otis Birdsong. But he had heard of me. And so we were talking, and he had heard somewhat of my BT. Like he said, man, Curtis, the one guy that I admire in all of sports was Charlie Neal. I said, let me do this. I'm going to call Charlie right now on my cell, and I'll put you on the phone with him. I called Charlie. I said, Charlie, I got somebody here who really wants to talk to you, who's been admiring you from afar. He hadn't had a chance to really sit down with you, but he really wants to talk to you. I put Otis and Charlie together. Otis talked to him about 10 minutes. He came off the phone, and he was like a kid in a candy jar, man. He said, man, I've admired that guy, man, that be able to talk to him. I couldn't believe it. I've been following him for years. And I said, Otis, man, he's the Madden of Black House Sports. And I said, you're not the first, man. I've seen the reaction. When he got the award from the NFL last year, the Chris Shanko Award from NFL, I mean, people from the NFL were amazed with him. They just knew all his background.
Now, Mr. Simon, Zoe, did you have a follow-up?
No, go ahead, Steve.
Okay. When we watch, and I Mr. Simon, we've had you on HBCU Coaches Corner, and we've talked about this, but the level of production that you produce the games, because I remember, again, we go back and tying into BT, and again, this is what I think might have been my senior year before I left to go to FAMU, and I saw Mr. Neal, Charlie Neal, going, and Zoe, it's a long elevator that gets up to the press box. And I see him, and I say, hey, Mr. Neal, I'm Steve Campbell. He's like, who? He said, I'm Soul Papa Campbell's son. And when you knew that BT rolled into a play, it was a big game. You know what I mean? You were excited, and especially in Jackson, it was at night. It's the same feeling now, because when we see, and again, something we're going to clear up. Oh, we just lost him. Hopefully he'll be able to climb right back. But let me give a reset. This is Mr. Campbell, Zoe Phillips, Sippin on Sundays on a Sunday, Off Script Network. Here you go, Mr. Simon.
Can you see me? I'm sorry, man. My internet's sometimes. I'm in a community, man, where everybody fires up their computer the same that I do, man. So
it's all good.
It's all good. Listen, we know. See, we know our show is monitored, so the man don't want this good information to get out. So we know what it is. He tried to interrupt the progress, Mr. Simon, but we're not gonna stop tonight. He can't stop.
You asked the question, Steve. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying that when Charlie Neal was at a game, you knew it was a big game. Yeah. So the same thing, because of your production value with HBCU Go, and people just love the way the game's laid out. But then you hear that Charlie Neal voice.
That's all.
And you talk about why production, because like you said, was so important. And Charlie Neal, as your game of the week, had to be there, and the production, because you wanted it to look better. Because I dare say, again, far as other networks, there is no other game for us that covers HBCU sports, especially that when you look at that game, that you're going to be satisfied watching the HBCU Go game. Talk about, hey, we want this production to look this way, and when Charlie Neal's there, we're going to have that big game feel to it.
Well, that was the goal. When I got with Byron, I said, look, Byron, we got one shot. I said, this audience that we're dealing with, the A8 audience, you got to put out a quality product. I can't put out a YouTube product. That ain't gonna work. That would just basically they watch it for 2 minutes and say, you know what, this is some bullshit. I'm not watching no HBCU. So you got to put the quality, you got to put the investment in, so that people could say, damn, they doing some good work over there, you know. And so that was my first goal. In my first year, the first thing I wanted to do was put a quality product on the table. And then having people like John Kelly, Charlie, Nia Simone, you know, Laurencia, you know, James Hadnot, they did an excellent job, man, of taking that. And I got a hell of a team, man. I got and I was fortunate. My whole team is former BT people that I know can do the job. Gina Holland does all my tech work. Jackie Coleman is one of my producers who does a great job. Renato Lowe's, my other producers, they do their work is top notch, man. And people think, you know, and I had to educate the HBCU circle because they were so used to ESPN pulling in with just a van and some cameras and call it a day. I'm pulling 18-wheeler in. I'm serious. You know, I'm coming in there. I'm 8 cameras up on there, and I'm rocking and rolling. You know, scaffolds, the whole 9 yards. They hadn't seen none of that. So I had to also get the respect from the HBCUs because they were used to the ESPN model. And when I started rolling an 18-wheeler in, they were like, whoa, wait a minute. We didn't know all of this was coming with it, you know? So I had to educate them on what I'm bringing to the table. I'm not doing no milk dust stuff. I'm doing real stuff, you know? And now I've got it to the point where people see the quality, like you just said, the quality. I mean, there's a big award show, sports award show that called Sports Video Programming, Sports Video Group. They're based out of New York. They do a big conference in Atlanta in the month of May. For the last 2 years, we've been finalists in a couple of big categories. Now we're going.
You muted. I think it may have dropped off again.
Yeah, you didn't want to be great. Wait, hold on, Mr. Simons. Wait a minute.
Oh, here, you pop back in. Thank God, I popped back in. Yeah, what I was saying was that we're a finalist in 2 categories. One was live programming. Now we're up against CBS, you know, NCAA Finals championship game. So I mean, our chances are going to be short. But the fact that we're a finalist, you know, in 4 years, is to me, and the group that we're up against Fox, CBS, NBC, but we're in the mix for 4 years. And I tell people all the time, you know, it took BT 10 years to get down the road on this stuff. You know, we're there, we're almost climbing the ladder in 4 years. And then, like I try to tell our community, of course, like it's anything else, like when I was at BT, you know, everybody wanted BT to do the world. You know, we're only in 4 years right now. So not only are we positioning ourselves to do football and basketball, we position ourselves to do coming in 27, baseball, softball, track and field, volleyball, other sports, along with other programming that dealing with the culture of HBCUs. That's really where I'm stretching out next, is to talk about, because I'm going to bust out with a new title this year called HBCU Go. The culture is calling.
Okay. We're breaking news here.
Yeah, that's what I'm going. So I'm giving you the tip. It ain't hit the street yet, but that's the tip. That's the tip right there.
Wait a minute. Say that. Wait a minute. All right, Mr. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Wait a minute. Let's give it a proper introduction. The new slogan is going to be coming up.
HBCU Go. The culture is calling.
Culture's calling.
That's it. Because that's what it's about. That's what it's about, guys. If we can begin to start showing how the culture is growing HBCUs, That's the message. That's the message.
Well, I wanted to touch on, the actual onset, the start of HBCU Go, right? And so just knowing when the company launched, knowing that they, signed a deal with the SWAC and they're going to be broadcasting games, because there were other networks prior to this, that started and kind of phased off. I think it was NBC a while back that showed some games after BET folded because people had a hunger for it. I think the main thing, and if you can travel back in time, would be when you announced Charlie Neal was going to be the face that's going to be calling the games. It gave it instant credibility because it automatically touched on to nostalgia for a lot of people who, when you think of Charlie Neal, BET comes to mind and HBCU football comes to mind. Him and Lynn Barney calling those big games, those blue blood matchups, and those things brought instant nostalgia to you. Then fast forward to the first game that he's calling, man, to hear his voice and to actually see, would it be an HBCU opponent? And then you marry, and I've always said this about HBCU Go, even back then, it basically became BET in HD. It really became. It was like it was like a souped up BET because you have, Charlie Neal as if like he was frozen in time and he never stopped, right? And we're putting him on this with better camera. It was like better camera, better signal. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that's missing, if we're being real about it, is we're just missing Lombardi beside him. But outside of that, it was like it's BET in HD. We're taking the best version of 1980, 1990 BET football in its glory, right? But we're doing it now, at this time with all the new technology, and we got Charlie. Speak to that, how it was in the beginning.
Well, I think you said it perfectly. So I mean, the whole thing is that you got to look at.
He'll be right back.
I think we may have froze again.
Yeah, that's okay, but that's all right. Don't miss the Simons. Curtis Simons. Hey, listen, just to reset. We got Sippin on Sundays, Zoe Phillips, Mr. Campbell. We have the CEO and co-founder of HBCU Go talking about the life and times of Charlie Neal, HBCU Sports, where it's going. Had to bring him on because, again, a lot of people have done some great tributes about the late, great Charlie Neal. But guess what? You know what I do. Mr. Campbell knows folks. So I had to call a person that I knew Charlie best, Mr. Curtis Simons. So we have Curtis Simons on talking about how he started HBCU Go with Charlie Neal back in the day when Charlie Neal started back with BET. Got Zoe Phillips. So what do you think about so far with the conversation with Curtis Simon? And for the people that are learning some things, hey, man, he's dropping some things that folks didn't know, so.
Hey, man. Again, we always talk about Black excellence, right? And we look at Mr. Simons, who, again, did something similar to Bob Johnson to create a network. But, again, to actually still be growing as we speak, you know what I'm saying, to grow the actual brand of HBCU football to the masses. But again, like he stated, putting a damn good quality product out. Again, on the back of Bob Johnson, who was a visionary to start Black entertainment television. And you stand on the back of that. And what you do is you pass the torch. But Curtis Simons says taking the torch and then, elevate it, which is what you do. The next generation does something and you do it and you make it better. But again, the one mainstay between BET and HBCU Go is Charlie Neal. That's the tie. That's the tie. That's the thing that's binding them together. And so, man, we're going to miss Charlie Neal. And I'll say this, Steve. I'm so glad that when I met him, and I was like a kid in the candy store when I met him. And for those who haven't actually met the man, if you can remember his voice on BET, I will definitely tell you this. His voice is even more bolder and louder in public than what it is coming through the airwaves on the television. But he was man, he was larger than life. If you actually met him in person, he sounds exactly the same. He commands attention when he's in the room, and every time I got a chance to talk to him, I feel good knowing that, man, I gave him his flowers every time I saw him. And he received them. And, man, every time we would talk, man, he would actually have a story, and have some things to talk about when we talked about those old BET games. So, when I first met him, I let him know that, I rep JSU and I was letting him know, you got to understand, Steve, I was born in 1978, you know, and because of BET and Charlie Neal, and like I said, Lem Barney, you know, calling those games, BET and these games are the reason why I know who FAMU is, why I know who Delaware State is, why I know, you know, which matchups were at that point in time rivalries, right? Because you got to understand, I'm from Mississippi. You guys got to understand, cable, you know, actually started around that time. We had just local television.
Yep.
And so when it came to it, I wasn't familiar with the MEAC. I learned what the MEAC was through BET, you know, in 86, 87, 88, 89. And, you know, to hear him, you know, and tell these stories about certain things within these rivalries, you know, while he was calling the games. Because honestly, this is another thing I want to mention. Charlie Neal did something as a football anchor that no other football anchor did because it was Black college football. He called games almost like a baseball announcer would call a game, if you guys are familiar. Lem Barney was the football analyst because he played. Charlie Neal will give history insights and all those things, almost like you're watching a baseball game when you're watching those games back at the time. So, man, he's definitely going to be missed, man. And again, when you think of the start of HBCU Go, the moment, I mean, instant moment that we knew Charlie Neal was going to be, you know, calling the games, that was actually helped generate buzz for HBCU Go. Because, man, there was so many of us. Because, again, you know, when HBCU ball first started, like, I can say this. The reason why we even got cable in my house, and we got it because BET was showing a game, Jackson versus Southern, which my dad wasn't going to. That's the sole reason why we got the game. I will never forget it as long as I live. BET was channel 22, one cable box, and we went and got it just so we could watch the game. And the very first voice you hear is Charlie Neal. And, man, I'm telling you, and it stuck. It resonated. You don't think about it at the time, but year after year after year after year, his voice became a mainstay. And he just grew. And I want to say this last thing, too, before I pass it back to you, Steve. Charlie Neal actually did a lot of great work, man. He was on ESPN as a fill-in. He was on other major networks. And he was very, very well respected before he even started BET. And that's the thing. So he had credibility. Matter of fact, when they announced his pass to Tim Brando, who worked alongside with him a lot, and Tim Brando is a big name in the game, he tweeted about it. You know what I'm saying? And you had a lot of analysts, you know, from our era, right? And, you know, and prior to us, that were actually tweeting about his death, his passing, I'm sorry, you know, when he passed away. And so, again, it just gives more credence and validity, not just in the Black space, but in the whole entire country from the sports landscape.
You know, we were talking about this earlier. So here we go. We got Mr. Simons back. Hey, Mr. Simons. Like I said, we're just going on.
I'll be quick, man, so I don't keep jamming you guys up.
No,
listen,
wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. I want to say something real quick. And you know, me and you talked before we got on. We got as much time because here's one thing too, because there's two parts to this. It's talking about the greatness of Charlie Neal, but we also, and me, you talked about this. We need to let people know how important it is to support HBCU Go. So we're going to give you, so as long as you got time for us,
I got time.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say, so
you ain't giving me time, but I got time.
And well, listen, man, because I got ways. Listen, I can run my mouth and so can Zoe, and I got videos to fill. So if you drop off, if you see us play a video, I got an HBCU Go video ready to go. So definitely, because see, I think I want to just say this, why this is important to me, because as somebody who grew up and understood Black history, who understood importance of history, we're in a time where people are trying to erase history.
Right.
And for me, when Zoe and I did this show, and I told Zoe I wanted to do something different, we weren't going to be around here talking about people, calling this all stuff out. We wanted to give people some things like we're doing here, because I grew up with this. This is important to me. So to have somebody like you who is an HBCU alumnus, let's be clear on that also, and understands what this means. And for the younger people, because we see so many things that are not us. And we need to let know we have a person on here that's the CEO of a channel that went to an HBCU. True. And I want the young people to understand it. We had Charlie Neal, who was an advocate that was known in the industry as a titan, as Zoe was talking about, that people, Black, white, didn't matter. Executives knew how great Charlie Neal was. So to have you on this time to talk about Charlie Neal and to talk about HBCU Go, I appreciate you, because again, we got enough foolishness out there, Mr. Simons. You know that
I'm with you.
So we about the business tonight on Sunday. So like I said, we got plenty of time. When I tell you what, when you say, Steve, I'm good, I'm ready to go to bed, we're gonna let you go. But for this, there's nothing else to talk about because the rest of that me and Zoe can talk about next week. As long as we got you, let's go. So you were getting ready to talk a little bit more about what you were saying, if you remember. Or if not, I can reset it.
Well, I mean, the thing is that, and Zoe said it earlier, it is like the second coming of BT. And the one thing that made BT big, I was just talking to my staff about the other day because, my background with BT was I was doing and handled all the affiliate marketing, which I was the guy selling BT into the cable systems. I was the guy dealing with universities one-on-one. I was the guy putting all the marketing together behind it. And one of the things that made BT grow, which I'm trying to emulate the same pattern, is we were able to get the community behind us. We started getting the Black community really looked at BT as their network, and I went to a lot of city council meetings where we were trying to get carried to certain markets, and people would come into these meetings talking about, this is our network. Why is it not on the cable system? We don't understand it, and I just went into the Hall of Fame the other day in cable, and I had Bob Johnson introduce me, and he made a very funny comment, but it was a real comment. He was like, you got to give Curtis a lot of credit because here's a guy that went into Wyoming, Montana, where there wasn't a lot of African Americans out there then, and sold BT into those states and got the cable operators carrying BT. But one of the things that we were able to echo about BT, which is the same thing I'm trying to do now with HBCU Go, is that number one, don't look at us like Black entertainment television. Look at us as entertainment television. Mm-hmm. With HBCU Go, don't look at it as historical Black colleges and universities. Look at it as good programming. Yep. And people are beginning to start sensitizing to that. And the more we can kind of build that messaging out there, that's why I told you the culture is calling, because we got to show the world about our culture and how important it is. And to your points on that, Steve, is that we got to educate our young people and even our young families about the value, the history, the legacy, the lifestyle of HBCUs, because a lot of them don't know. It's amazing how many people I keep meeting because they see me out there, they know I'm out there now, who always say to me, the consistent line is, if I only knew, I didn't know, I would have gone to an HBCU. And they're right, because, in most schools, they're not really pushing HBCUs. They're telling us, people of color, go to the Army, Navy, figure it out, go from there. Now people are starting to see all the different types of people coming out of HBCUs, from doctors to lawyers to dentists to all, not just athletes, and people who can think. Now the whole world is changing to say we need to support these universities. I'm trying to get the universities now, the 107, to begin to start understanding that in order to survive out here in today's world, you got to treat these universities as a business and not just as an education center. Because, see, the PWI's got it early on. That's why you got 104,000 Ohio State Stadium, because they understand if I'm driving athletics, the money's going to come in. We've been in position for so long because as African Americans, we were told we couldn't go to certain schools. So the message with the HBCU was education, which nothing wrong with that. But now it's fast forward to where you got to also bring the business community in to the HBCU so that they can help create more value. I mean, look what Howard did the other day. They gave an honorary degree to Bob Iger, ABC/Disney. Honorary degree. Mm-hmm. To women. I called my boss right away. I said, "Are you watching this?" Mm-hmm. Bob Iger is getting an honorary degree from Howard because he supported Howard's education department and the university. Dropped some dollars on him. He was real. Okay? He didn't check the box. He dropped some real dollars on him. That's what I'm talking about when you start combining education with the business, because it brings in people like that. And believe me, those are the kind of guys now, hey, Bob, I'm a little short. can you help me out? Oh, yeah, what you need? Oh, I can use a couple million. Can you slide me a couple million out of Disney? We can take care of you. We'll put on XYZ. You're good. That kind of thing. You need more of that. You need more of that. You know?
So, Mr. Simons, let me ask you a question as a business person. What do you think? Do you think, and again, we see the partnership, like you said, with the SWAC. Where HBCU go, what other partnerships are you looking at to do? Is there things that with your channel are you looking to expand to, again, bring other type of programming to HBCU go that's sports related and things like that? Why don't we talk a little bit about that and thinking about, and I say this because again, we always want to charge back to Charlie Neal. Charlie Neal had the Budweiser Sports Report. And I watched that religiously. And again, I did a Black Sports Writer roundtable with several guys way back. And I thought about the power of Black sports writers and things like that. And again, is that something that, you know, you're looking at, or, you know, pregame show, which I think you guys have started already, and other things, or, you know, a post-game show and other things to really, really bring people in? And also, how can we, because I'll tell you one thing that was very interesting about what's great about HBCU Go. I had to go up on business into Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure it was FAMU. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to watch FAMU. And I was like, wait a minute. HBCU Go got an affiliate up here in Chicago. And I told my people, I say, hey, listen, we got to go to somebody's house because I got to watch FAMU because that's when we was rolling. So I said, I can't miss this game. We try to get to the Celebration Bowl. And the fact that you all are in so many different communities on a linear station, you know what I'm saying, that people could see it, that you live like on the CW network or something like that, affiliate and things like that. How important was that to get that deal done?
Well, that was very important, Steve. I mean, the beauty of Allen Media Group that Byron has developed is distribution. I mean, we have a monster distribution arm. You know, to what you're talking about is we have 3 packages. We have a syndicated package, which that's what you're talking about, which is on broadcast from Fox to CWs to others that are on all over the country. I mean, we're basically averaging about 96% of television households with our syndication package. Then we have a cable package, which is the Griot. That's 57 million. And then we have HBCU. Then we have HBCU Go, which is our OTT package, our digital package, which is sitting in almost 10 million homes. You know, that's big numbers, man. That's big numbers when you're trying to really get the word out there. I mean, Charles McClellan uses the classic line that I love. Every time someone interviews, asks a question, well, what does HBCU Go mean to you, to the SWAC? And he always answered with this line, game changer. Because we were able to now get the SWAC out there in a lot of different markets that they hadn't been seen in. You know, I had one parent call me and thank me because it was the first time she could see her son play. You know, those are the kind of things we're trying to do. Now, as you just mentioned, Steve, we're trying to grow the partnerships. Like, I'm trying to do my old theory of what I did with BT. Back in 1992, I was sitting in an NBA All-Star weekend, and I was there for all the festivities, blah, 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 blah. I'm sitting in my room, and I'm watching the in-house television, and there's NBA TV, and they're showing all of Celtics, other kind of play, all audience that programming that reached out. I picked up a phone call, Bob Johnson said, Bob, we're missing the boat, man. We need to build a relationship with the NBA. He said, Curtis, if you can make it happen, go for it. I called John Miller, who I knew over at NBA Entertainment. John, I need to talk to you. I need to have a meeting. We were able to build a show with Amari.
It's like froze. That's okay. We got plenty of time for Mr. Simons. So listen, you know, here's the thing that I like what we're talking about. First of all, we got a CEO on the show, Zoe, Sippin on Sundays. Other folks talking about it, so we be about it. Second of all, he's an HBCU alum. Third of all, he has time to take the time on a Sunday night, as now 10 p.m. Eastern time, to talk to 2 brothers from Jackson, Mississippi, North Jackson, man. So you know what? And my mama say, I'm proud of you, boy. That he has enough respect to come on this show, man. He's Sippin on Sundays on a Sunday. Zoe Phillips, Mr. Campbell, Off Script Network, Rocky Middle Channel, man. We have the CEO of HBCU, Curtis Simon, who has blessed us with the time. Again, have a little trouble with his, like I say, with his cable connection, but that's okay. We'll see if he gives us a little bit more time. But Zoe, I'm gonna tell you this, man. I'm gonna bring this up while Mr. Simons comes back on. So, you know, again, one of the things, that's why I'm saying I was so excited about. This was me and Mr. Neal at y'all Celebration Bowl, Jackson State versus South Carolina State. And this is when the year that Charlie Neal went into the SWAC Hall of Fame. So that's why he's got his red jacket on, man. I was sitting over there on the Jackson State. So I had to represent my folks in Jackson, man. But this was so exciting, man. This is the last time I got to see Mr. Neal, you know, in public, man, and just the way representing stuff like that. And again, at that age and to be so sharp and that voice. And when I told him who I was, Steve, how's your mother Linda doing? That was just awesome, man. You know, so, you know, just to have him, you know, to take that picture with him, man, it means so much to me and stuff like that. So, man, listen, we got Curtis Simons back. Let's Mr. Simons get back on what he was telling, because he give me y'all a little something. Go ahead, Mr.
What I was just saying, trying to see if I can move. I moved rooms to see if it gives me a little bit better love. But what I was saying was that one of the things that we wanted to build at BT early on was partnerships with some of the major brands like the NBA. And so we were able to create this show that was hosted by Amar Rashad that really cracked the ice and helped us out with the brand. And then we did the same thing with the NFL, same way with Major League Baseball. Now we're getting the same calls for HBCU Go from the same brands. You'll hear something from NBA pretty soon, what we're doing with them. You hear something from NFL, and then we're trying to do something with Major League Baseball and Major League Soccer. You know, so we're trying to grow it in a way. Here's some easy ways of getting our brand out there, you know, and that's really one of the things that we're trying to tie into. It's almost like, you know, Howard Hampton soccer is doing a big game at Audi Field in August. They've called us, want us to air the game. You know, the more we can build with other brands, the bigger we're going to be able to grow with that. And we take that model, it's very similar to how we drew the BET model, very similar. And then we're looking at how we can expand the programming. I mean, more and more people are coming, because the big thing for us that we bring to the table is the distribution of it. That distribution means a lot, because it's a great way for people to get more exposure out there. And that's today's world. The more you're seen, the better your chances are. And that's what, you know, it was hard to make the HBCU world understand that, because they were caught up on their door. You know, if you learn you air live television is going to affect their door. And I'm like, that's old thinking. Okay. PWIs don't worry about that. Why are you worried about it? As long as you're getting the conference getting a fee, what's the concern? Don't you want more exposure versus, you know, worried about, you know, how my door is going to be at the end of the day? If you're marketing it right, you don't worry about the door. You'll get there. Okay. So you're trying to grow that mentality. The thing that's interesting in the HBCU circle is educating people on the power of television and understanding what it brings to the table. And that's because so many people have been caught up in the old school. And in the HBCU circle, the tough part about it is a lot of these conferences have been burnt for so many years. You know, because people come in, sell them the, you know, the quick store. We can do this, we can do that for, they last 6 months and they're gone. And they're sitting out there with no help. Where, you know, we're telling them HBCU ain't going nowhere. You know, what we're just trying to do is sustain a good model that can make money and keep us alive. That's the name of the game.
So, Mr. Simons, what would you consider to be the ceiling for HBCU Go?
Oh, I think so. That's a good question. So I think the ceiling would be, you know, if we could really get, you know, all 4 conferences locked in right, you know, that would be number one. Number two, looking at different ways that we can now do more, you know, on our sports side, doing more of Olympic sports. I think that story needs to be told. Like here we are coming up on another Olympic summer coming up in 2027. Okay. You know, it'd be great to feature the athletes that are coming from international world or wherever it might be, or at HBCUs, and really promoting stories about where they're going to with it. You know, So I think the more and more we can be creative. And the other thing I like to try to do, Zoe, is, which I've been trying to teach to a lot of advertisers, is I got a great team that can do some great storytelling if I can get some money behind me. Because there's some great HBCU stories out there. You know, you look at the kid that I was just reading about him the other day, and I think it's a great story. The kid from Tennessee State who got in the combine and was cooking everybody to the point where, you know, the G League walked up and offered him a deal, you know, and said, listen, man, you need to come to the G League and try out. Okay, because he looked like he automatically could walk in the G League. You know, he's got a great story in the background that somebody should be telling his story. And what I'm also tired of, Zoe, is other people telling our stories. So you don't get the real effect. Like, no one's really told the story that I really want to do is two things. One is, no one's really told the Sam Jones story, right? Nobody I've seen. And I was always talking to Sam before he passed away.
No, wait a minute, Mr. Sam. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Now, listen. Now, you're talking about one of the legendary players from Boston. I need you. Okay, so remember, this is Sippin' on Sundays. Zoe Phillips, Mr. Campbell, Curtis Simons. I want you. You got a lot of young people don't know this now. I want you to tell them exactly who Sam Jones is and them rings that he got, because I think people don't understand. This is when you're talking about a top 100 NBA player of all time. So just kind of give just a small bio of Sam Jones so our young folks would know.
Sam Jones, one of the most legendary. He created the bank shot. No one really understands. The bank shot was created behind Sam Jones out of Winston-Salem University, played for the Boston Celtics, 11-time world champion. 11. Not like Michael, was 6. Not like anybody else, 11. And I spent a lot of time with Sam through Charlie when he was at BT. And Sam was a genuine person. Number one, he was one hell of an athlete. He wasn't just a basketball player. He was a great tennis player. He probably could play football if he would have wanted to do it. He was just that good of an athlete. You know, I mean, Sam was just blessed. But the one thing he had, boy, he had a jump shot that was off the chain. And I mean, you know, when people talk about some of the greatest shooters that came out of the NBA, he was one of those. Back before a lot of people who are listening today even were born. You know, and if you haven't done your homework, do your homework. Google this guy, Sam Jones with the Boston Celtics, and you'll be amazed at his story to listen to. But no one really told the true story behind all of Sam. And I had a chance to spend a lot of time with him because he was announcing with Charlie when we were at BT on Black College Sports and basketball. And so Sam educated me on a lot of stuff about how he became, because he was a country boy. He came to Boston, he didn't know what was happening. You know, Boston was real fast for Sam coming in there, and how he had to adjust his life when he first came in there. And Bill did a great job of helping him adjust his life. That was his true friend, Bill Russell, coming in the door. But there's a lot of those stories out there. There's a lot of those stories that haven't been told right. You know, that giving the right resources, HBCU Go could be a real mechanism. And back to your point, Steve, that you meant earlier, you know, one of the things that BT did is they were the first to do a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, the sports reporter was BT before it was ESPN.
It sure was.
And all the guys that Wilbon, all the black guys out there that now doing announcements all came through JB, all came through BT and through Charlie. Because they all spent a lot of time. They were green when they came to BT. They Wilbon was writing. He wasn't television. You know, sports reporter put Wilbon on the map. You know, same with JB.
John Saunders and I forgot the guy that with the Morgan State with the raspy voice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, Zoe. You're right on point, Zoe.
So they were the one who initially took it, and then they started then they actually started adding the other guys. They were all journalists. Mitch Albom, Mike Lubica. Yeah. That's when they actually started coming on. But yes, it did start on BT.
And you had at that time with BT, you had a lot of white writers who wanted to be on Sports Reporter because they were so good with the show. And they covered some great time. And you got to remember, see, the one thing that was so good about BT back in the day that was interesting is that if a BT reporter was talking to an athlete, the story was completely different than anybody else because they were real comfortable talking to their people. They trusted the Charlies of the world, other people that did interviews, that they could get the right story out, that they weren't going to get pimped, by media if they talked to us correctly. So we got a lot of good footage back there. What the sad part about it is, I wish I would have been able to capture all of our old stuff in the sports department, because we had some great interviews that no one can find now. Great interviews from different athletes that came through. I was talking to Dominique Wilkins the other day, and I seen Dominic in Atlanta, because I bounced back in Atlanta quite a bit through, because I work out of the Weather Channel majority of the time when I come to Atlanta. And we were talking about when Charlie interviewed Dominique years ago, and some of the things that were said in that conversation that a lot of people hadn't heard about, because Michael has always said, he quoted, the hardest guy that guarded me was Dominique. No question. So there was a lot of different conversations that were great conversations that we'll never find out where all it went, because BT trashed all of them when they decided to sell it. So we lost a lot of that. It's like we got one of the big pieces that we have that one of our guys grabbed was the 7 overtimes with Florida A&M, at Circle City. I mean, that was history.
Yeah.
that was 7 overtimes. That was an unbelievable game that night. So there was a lot of that, guys, that is pouring over now into HBCU Go, and I think that the team that I put together, to your point, Steve, earlier, really is doing a great job of capturing the quality and the sound and the feel of Black college sports.
Well, let me ask you a question. You said something on Sandro. So the SEC has something called SEC Storied.
Yeah.
And me and Zoe talk about this all the time. And again, Zoe and I both from Jackson. Again, I have been over. And the names, so you're talking about a documentary if you did Bullet Bob Hayes or Walter Payton or Steve Ed McNair or Mel Blunt, all these people. Thea Gibson, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot out there. Wilma Rudolph. In fact, I think we're gonna have Coach Cheeseborough on from Tennessee State, the coach, and we're gonna talk about Wilma Rudolph, and things like this, and those things, because sometimes we show clips on this show or HBCU Coaches Corner, and people are amazed the ability of these people, but they don't know the backstory.
That's true.
That people would again the famous story of Jerry Rice. How did he have great hands? Because he caught bricks with his daddy. And things like that. Walter Payton running that hill. Where did that come from? And things like that. So that's something that you're also looking to possibly do, something like that.
Yes, that's the angle. That's the angle we'd like to do. And then what the other thing we're striving for is, one of the things that we want to create off of HBCU Go is get the students that can create content for us, so that you could say, hey, Steve did this from Jackson State, and here's with the programming. So we're giving you a capture along with the university. This is what's coming out of Jackson State. So we're trying to we're going to be hopefully rolling some of that out very soon. We're starting to get a lot of schools that want to go in that direction and help us out. I'm biting the bullet to make it happen, and I'm hoping we can roll something out in 26, 27.
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Simons, when you mentioned about, the worst part of some of this is getting our stories out. And I would always say, I always say in every bad thing, they aren't really that bad because they create opportunities.
Totally agree.
And so the thing is that we have now a great opportunity to highlight stories that haven't been told. We know names, right? But there are so many other names that could be even bigger names if their stories were out, or even situations. For an example, I can go like from the SWAC alone. You could talk about, the marriage of when Steve McNair was coming out, how he alone was the rise of ESPN2. Knowing they were having all their games and just the way the media was. Or when you talk about the the Mississippi Valley versus Alcorn game, which at that time was moved on a Sunday on closed circuit television throughout the state of Mississippi. Like you have all these stories that can actually get out and actually get to the underbelly of the things or the minutia really that really makes the story, because people have heard about that Mississippi Valley and Alcorn game, but they don't know the backstory as to why it became what it became, right? Or you talk about Alcorn, you know, actually nobody talks about this, but Alcorn actually made the Sweet 16, the only HBCU to do so. We don't talk about their story. You know, there are other things in other sports, right? And so my thing is, it creates now a great opportunity, you know, be it on HBCU Go or anything where we could say it could be a 30-minute piece or documentary style or just an actual thing. Like Steve said, we could have it SWAC Rewind or HBCU Rewind, and you can put that out there to the masses, because when I tell you it's an untapped gold mine, it's an untapped gold mine.
Totally agree. Totally agree with you, Zoe. You're making all the right points that we're striving for. Believe me. You know, I mean, it's for me, it's people like you and Steve who bring things up that we've been talking about, and just we're saying, you know, now we're just trying to be in a position to financially be able to support it. That's what we're trying to do, you know, and really grow it. But that's certainly our thinking, you know. And like I say, we've only been in it for 4 years. The goal was coming out was let's make an anchor on the sports side and then grow it out from there. And we've begun to really kind of build that in. And now we're looking on how we could kind of break the glass and try to pop it to what you just talked about, Zoe, to make it a bigger deal. You know, at the end of the day, that's the goal. That is certainly the goal. Exactly where you're coming from.
Well, Mr. Simons, I tell you what, I'm going to ask you this one last question, because we have had you on for a long time, and I know you got a really busy week coming up. But what do you want to tell the young people that are out there listening, that are learning this history? How can they support HBCU Go? What do they need? What if they want to try to get a job at HBCU Go? What do they need to do? And also, last, where do you see HBCU going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, you know, the goal right here, Steve and Zoe, is that I would like to try to get as many of the Gen Zs at these universities to start doing what they do best, texting, spreading the word to support HBCU Go. I think we have now grown the brand in a real early stage and beginning to broaden it out to really make people understand we represent the HBCU community. But we need that grassroots support. We need people talking about it every day, because the more I can get people talking about, like you and Zoe, the more it's going to position me to get people. I believe in the rep system. You keep repping it, people keep hearing it. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, the word starts spreading. So I'm hoping that, you know, your listening audience today understands that, you know, I'm not talking the talk, I'm walking the walk, you know, and I just need people to grow with me and understand that you're looking at 2 black men, Curtis Simons and Byron Allen, who've made a commitment to the HBCU community to help grow this product. That's number one. Number two, on a 5-year approach, the goal is to really tighten up our rights with all the conferences, try to grow the conferences in a way where we can look at doing more non-conference games on the air, try to expand as far as growing. I would like to see us create our own HBCU Go Bowl.
Okay.
Football and basketball.
Okay.
You know, that we're writing the ticket and saying, here's what's happening over here, here's what's happening there. And then try to figure out different ways that we can really start educating our community as best as possible on why they should be watching and growing with HBCU Go. So that's really what I'm trying to put out there, Stephen. So, you know, within the next 5 years.
Well, Mr. Si, I want to play this before you go, because this is what I think this is just important about the quality, and this is what I'm talking about. And we had a show and we were talking about how the games get pulled because of the rights, right? Mm-hmm. ESPN, and then you all did SWAC TV,
right?
But I want to be very clear, and I want to say this out loud, Mr. Simons. The best quality of HBCU sports is on HBCU Go. There is no second tier. So I want to be clear, because sometimes people misquote us, Mr. Simons, but like I try to tell people, anytime somebody misquotes me, I had the big dogs on to back me up. But I want to show you this real quick, because this is what I'm talking about, the quality, because this is happening in May that you guys did. And I saw this and I said, come on, man. Mr. Simon already breaking it down. So this is what you guys have already put out for the fall football season. Let's watch this real quick with Curtis Simon, HBCU Go CEO.
The 2026 HBCU Go football schedule is official. Here are this year's top 5 can't-miss matchups. At 5, the Southern Heritage Classic. Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alcorn State square off in this legendary classic for the 2nd consecutive year. Last year's matchup came down to a second-half shootout that saw the Golden Lions take home the W. This year, both teams are looking to build on last year's excitement, win the classic, and compete for a SWAC title. At 4, finally, one of Black college football's biggest rivalries returns. FAMU and Tennessee State square off for the first time since 2017. This is a reunion between 2 heated rivals, so expect the energy to be high as if they never took a break. At 3, the Battle of the Real HU takes center stage. We're talking the Truth and Service Classic. Anytime Hampton and Howard match up, you're going to see hard-hitting football, elite alumni, and exciting halftime performances. But last year's matchup was all Howard, as the Bison dominated the Pirates from start to finish. Hampton may be looking for more than just revenge. At number 2 is one of Black college football's legendary rivalries. The Southern Jaguars return to Tallahassee to take on the Florida A&M Rattlers. Both teams will have new head coaches looking to turn their programs around fast. And finally, at number 1 is FAMU at Alabama State. We all witnessed Bama State show no mercy on FAMU last season on HBCU Go. This year, the Rattlers are looking to return the favor. And to make it potentially sweeter, it's Alabama State's homecoming. The Hornets seem to have it all together, especially with SWAC 2025 Offensive Player of the Year Andrew Body returning to lead the offense. Can the Rattlers ruin homecoming, or will the Hornets extend the win streak? It's all going down live on HBCU Go this fall. We'll see you outside.
Now, listen. Let me tell you what was. Now that was only a minute and 25 seconds, and let me tell you what I got. I know when they were playing. I know who they were playing. I got historical aspects of each game. And man, you already got me hyped, man. This Mason, Mr. Simon, come on now.
But see, you forget something. That's a spot that's being done here in May, right? You're not getting it on any other network.
That's what I just said. ESPN is not doing that.
I see that.
ESPN is not doing that.
I see that.
Mr. Simons, come on now. Now listen. Why you hit those folks over the head with that, like that?
Hey, we're just trying to do it right on that, Steve. We're trying to keep it going, man. That's the name of the game. You know, so man. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad they're getting the word out about it, and I love it. I love it. Steve. Keep up the good. You and Zoe, keep up the good work, brother.
Well, Mr. Simons, listen. I'm gonna tell you, I appreciate you so much because, and let me say something really quick. I text Mr. Simons today, and again, it's on a Sunday, and when I say this legend didn't text me back, called me back, and said, absolutely, I will come on your show to talk about my friend Charlie Neal and to bring more information about HBCU Go and what we're doing. And Mr. Simon, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you helping me honor somebody that, like I said, I knew that as you say, go way back when I was 0 age to Charlie Neal. Yes, and I'm super excited for us at Sippin on Sundays, HBCU Coaches Corner, to support HBCU Go. And you know, you have my number. Is anything you need to get out, you call me because we're going to put it out there on Sippin on Sundays on HBCU Coaches Corner. So, Mr. Simons, from all of us, we appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And Zoe, thank you very much, man. I'm sorry my computer. I'm glad finally on a spot where I'm not popping in and out on you. But thank you guys very much, man. And let's keep the communication going and let's keep talking, man. I love it.
Let's do it. There it is. All right,
man. Take care, guys.
CEO, thank you. That was Curtis Simons, HBCU Go on Sippin on Sundays. See, I'm just trying to tell y'all we're a little bit different over here. I keep trying to tell you we know folks. We go back with folks, man. That was an outstanding interview, man. I really appreciate you all hanging in there. But, man, listen, the show ain't over. So I think Zoe had to step out on something. So, but the show is not over, man. You know, I'm super excited that we were able to do that, man, because, like I say, Charlie Neal was, and forever will be the voice of HBCU sports. And to have somebody, the CEO of HBCU Go, who does the best production of HBCU sports, to talk about Charlie Neal, to talk about his days at BET, man, you couldn't get it no better than this, man. I hope you guys have enjoyed that, man. But listen, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. And Zoe is back. Zoe, so I'm gonna give us a few seconds just to, you know what I'm saying, pop my collar on that one, Zoe, right there. I keep trying to tell these folks, Zoe, we different over here. We different.
Broke some news too.
Broke some news. I'm trying. Hey, man, listen, man. I'm trying to get it on. Zoe. So you know what? I tell you what. Let's get into. He talked about the young man from Tennessee State, Aaron Nakuma. I'm gonna play this because this is what I saw this, and this is something that we're gonna talk about. So hold on. I'm gonna play this video that Mr. Simons referenced, man. Hey, man, your boy went to the HBCU Combine, man. And again, this is we're talking about Tennessee State's best player, Aaron Nakuma, playing for Tennessee State. I believe, Tennessee State. Yeah, Tennessee State guy. And this is the video that I saw. And again, man, hey, when you work hard, you might get this opportunity. So we're gonna play this real quick, Zoe, and then talk about it on the other side.
Out of Tennessee State was the very last player invited to the AWS NBA G League Combine. But after the incredible performance he put on in front of scouts and executives, he ended up being the first player called up to the NBA Combine. This is Aaron Nkrumah, and his journey to this very moment has been remarkable. Aaron started his collegiate career playing at the Division III level, but he eventually transferred to Tennessee State for his final 2 seasons, and in his senior year, he averaged 17.7 points and 5.5 rebounds a game. It was an impressive enough season to earn Aaron the very last invite to the AWS G League Combine this past week, and he made the most of this opportunity. Aaron has a knack for scoring the basketball, and this was on display in his first scrimmage where he scored 22 points. He was also grabbing tons of rebounds, making the right decisions with the ball in his hands, and he looked comfortable whenever he was the primary ball handler for his team. After the G League Combine was done, we were the ones who knocked on Aaron's hotel door to let him know he will be participating in the AWS NBA Draft Combine, and his reaction was priceless.
Yeah, I'm lying, man. It's not going to hit me probably until I go back in there. But I'm ready to showcase for the world. So
this guard.
Hey, man, listen. And shout out to Nolan Smith, who come on HBCU Coaches Corner, man. This is what happens when you get great coaching, when you get connections, and you take a chance with the opportunity that's before you. Now, listen, Tennessee State, I think, and I could be, I might be wrong, but Robert Covington, I'll tell you this, I know I'm right about this. He's one of the last HBCU players to play in the NBA from Tennessee State, from the Tennessee State. So again, to bring that lineage and to come on, I'm pretty sure Robert Covington has probably talked to him to tell him what to do. And of course, Nolan Smith. So what do you think about that? And man, how awesome is that for that young man?
Man, it's an amazing thing to see, but also it dispels a lot of things that we hear what the narrative is about being at HBCU. Whether it's football, baseball, or any other sport, right? Your only means of getting to the next level or getting looked at or getting opportunities is to go to, a Power 4 school or go to what's perceived as a bigger school. Because being here, your talent is wasting away. Nobody's going to see you or take you serious or things of that nature. And we simply prove that it's just not true. So again, kudos to him. Again, at one time, Steve, being a D3 player, right? That's with no scholarships. Going to college without being on scholarship and then moving away up to Tennessee State, which again, D1 level, and having a great season. They didn't do well the year before Nolan Smith, and he was there to go into last season for them doing what they did by, winning their conference and winning their conference tournament, and then also making way to the NCAA tournament, which they haven't done in a long, long time. So again, it just goes to show, man, if you ball, everything that you need will come to you. It doesn't matter where you are. We should minimize it because it's an HBCU. But we tend to do that with all things, with all sports, right? We go to baseball. We talk about Ricky Weeks at Southern University playing in the SWAC, winning basically the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy for baseball players. And he did that, right? Yeah, this was back, I believe, 2010, I believe. 16 years ago, but still, we're talking about no other HBCU players done it. But again, at that time, you would think, oh, you can't do those types of things playing, in the SWAC and, making moves or the MEAC or vice versa. So kudos to him. Godspeed to him, man. I hope he actually takes advantage of this opportunity, which is a tough opportunity, Steve, no matter what conference you're in. It's only so many spots in basketball. And to be one of those few that's having these having this great opportunity for him is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So kudos to him. Excited for him, and I hope he seizes the moment.
Yeah, and just a real quick, Ricky Weeks actually won the Golden Spikes Award, which is like the equivalent to the Heisman in 2003. And
okay, 2003.
And the Milwaukee Brewers selected him second overall in 2003. That's
the second overall pick, Steve.
Second overall pick
from Southern University.
Southern University. Second, wow. And he was a second baseman and shortstop. Second base. That's amazing. So to your point, man, I just think that again, we see these opportunities, and one of the things that I think was so important that Mr. Simons talked about is revenue generation to help these schools again bring in money, which again will be key for NIL. So again, as we bring in and we get better media deals, these deals are going to turn around and be able to fund NIL. Like I said, we had Mo come on and talk about what the SWAC is going to do with SWAC TV and bring in on the money for that. So that's, really, really to fund that, man. So really, really excited about that. Zoe looks like he checked out for 1 second. I'm going to hold it down. Once again, it is Mr. Campbell sipping on Sundays. Zoe Phillips, North Jackson's finest, man. We have had a great show to start off with, man. We had Mr. Curtis Simons talking about the legendary Charlie Neal and what he meant to HBCU sports. And overall, man, it's just been a great thing, man. Super excited, man. We just talked about, again, Aaron Nakuma, who went to the G League Combine and, again, really showed out, man. Super excited about that, man. I just tell you, man, here's the thing. We're in such a time, and, man, I'm glad this week we're really going to talk a lot about sports. We talk, politics, which I love talking about politics. But, again, we do want to talk about sports on this show. So super excited about that, man. But just to sit back and to watch and to see this thing grow. So you back? You good?
Yeah, man.
Back at it? Okay. So, yeah, man, just sit back and sign it. But so there's a political component, of course, to sports. And there is an act, the SCORE Act, that basically is going to set some guidelines and help college some of the things that they've asked for, to set maybe a pay scale, set a salary cap, talk about transferring and things like that. Well, so let me tell you a secret. The 4 commissioners wrote a letter to the Congressional Black Caucus in their support of the SCORE Act, and we're going to talk about that right now, which I thought that was very interesting. They went back to folks that they represent, and remember, many of the people at the Congressional Black Caucus are HBCU alums. So we'll talk about this. And, man, I think Kyle Mosley wrote this article. Shout out to Kyle Mosley. So HBCU commissioners reaffirm support in a new letter to the Congressional Black Caucus. CIAA, MAEC, SIAC, and SWAC commissioners send second letter to CBC Chair Yvette Clark reaffirming SCORE Act support and signing existential HBCU stakes. So let's talk about what they're kind of talking about it. So the commissioners on May 11th sent the letter, and they're addressing the criticism. We understand there is an outgoing vigorous debate about the various ways Congress can address the current unsustainable state of college athletics, and we believe the SCORE Act is a proposal best suited to address our core concerns, the commissioners wrote. So what are the priorities the commissioners say that the SCORE Act address? So first, the bill protects student athletes from being classified as employees of their institutions. Well, now, I'm going to say this respectfully. That's interesting. They said protects. Well, protects them, not protect the students. I want to be clear on that. Because protects, you got to watch how you use that word. But we're being respectful. I'm not going to talk about that part. Thereby relieving financial strain on HBCUs that do not generate substantial athletic revenue. The commissioners warned that an employee classification could threaten the existence of many HBCU athletic programs by making them financially unsustainable, and in case could lead to an elimination of intercollegiate athletics at those schools, though. This mirrors the position that McClellan staked out in the 2025 Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Conference. And he talked about this, talking about we need more funding. Second, the bill provides carefully defined liability protection that allow conferences and associations to make and enforce uniform rules without facing ongoing legal challenges. For HBCU conferences, this offers greater consistency and security. Now, he's talking about, all the lawsuits. We see, case in point, the lawsuit that Ole Miss had to deal with Trinidad Chambliss.
Yep.
Guess what? Ole Miss had to pay for some lawyers there, to defend that, and they lost. Third, the bill creates national-wide rules by replacing more than 30 different state name, image, and likeness laws. This uniformity prevents schools in one state from gaining an unfair advantage due to differing regulations, reducing legal complexity for HBCU conferences and making compliance easier for schools. Yep. I can speak on this because, as an example, in the state of Florida a couple of years ago, schools could not do NIL. Couldn't talk about it, couldn't mention it or anything. Yep. So those good folks down there in Florida State said, wait a minute now. They can talk about that in those other SEC states. We got to be able to do that too. So Guess what? As the white man does, change them rules real quick there, so.
Mm-hmm.
So Florida State and Florida can go ahead and talk about NIL. So this is what they're talking about. So different states have different rules for NIL. Hell, some states, and we're talking about a rule, have NIL for high school students.
I was about to say that.
And guess what? You know what these state schools are doing? Already paying these kids in high school. already getting them NIL deals to say, hey, you know what? 11th grade, 10th grader in the state of, maybe in Texas, because I know Texas had that rule. That's why the kid left to go to Ohio State. So let's just say Ohio. I know Ohio, you can pay them, right? So let's just use Ohio.
Tennessee was the first one in the South to do it.
Okay, so Tennessee. Well, you know what? Got an alumnus here. We're going to give you that car. And just to remember, he's an alumnus over there in Tennessee. What you think that kid going to think? You think that kid going to be like, nah, because guess what? He probably more likely going to go to Tennessee. And Shaq, we're going to leave this up for a while right here. So this was pretty interesting when I saw this. So again, of course, Donald Trump was the one that put this. You remember Charlie Ward attended this. He put all these big brains together and stuff like that, and talked about it and everything. So like that, I found this interesting. The commissioner position has not changed inside the political crosswind. The letter closes a direct ask to the Congressional Black Caucus. Now, the interesting thing about this, and again, what I saw, that you got a lot of Congress people that don't agree with this and say, hey, we want to protect the side of the student athletes. So again, though, I think this is very interesting that the commissioners have said, you know what? And I understand that these commissioners are commissioners of a conference. And they've sat down and said, what is best for a conference? Now, here's the thing. There's two sides of this. I'm all for athletes being empowered and getting whatever. But if I'm a commissioner of the SWAC and the MEAC, CIWS, I totally understand their point because they're running a business. And this is really harmful because, case in point, that $20 million NIL, even though it doesn't affect us right now, but they set that as a cap, and that comes all the way down and say we got to have $10 million. It's going to be tough. Think Valley going to be able to have a $10 million NIL? I don't think so. Arkansas Pine Bluff? Hell, even the big boy with the big names, the FAMUs, the Jackson States, the Southerns, the North Carolina A&Ts. You think they're going to be able to easily have a $10 million NIL budget? Or hell, $5 million, $3 million.
But here's the thing. Is it possible to do things locally or regionally to where you possibly could have like a $5 million NIL evaluation? It is, right? Could it be sustainable year in and year out? That begs to be another question. But also in the current climate, if you're able to do that, let's say you're able to have a $3 million NIL thing. Well, guess what? That right there gives you an unfair advantage in regards to competition within your league. You see what I'm saying? And it will pay dividends, right? Because again, it speaks to recruiting. And I can literally take the best players within said conference, right? If you're only willing to pay somebody $10,000 and they're willing to jump into the portal, and why go back there when I can go over here to another school within the conference, right? And they're willing to pay me, $100,000 for one season. I mean, you're going to wipe recruiting off the floor in regards to your own league. It creates an unfair advantage, and they want to have some type of balance within it. But Steve, they just goes to show you this whole entire thing. Only thing they're doing is getting one step closer to have the collective bargaining agreement. That's all it is.
All right. Well, let me answer that. Here's the problem, Zone. I'm a pseudo lawyer. You can't collect a bargain if they're not employees. And the conferences don't want them to be employees. So you cannot, by law, collectively bargain with somebody that's not an employee. You cannot collectively bargain with somebody that's a contractor. You can only collectively bargain if somebody's a direct employee of the entity. So there you go.
Yeah, my only pushback to that, though, in this climate, when those who make the laws will do anything to bend or push or eradicate their laws. That's my only concern, especially when you talk about from a powerful level. You know what I'm saying? Because everything they do, they'll do it for them, and it'll just trickle down to us, or either wipe us out altogether. So
here's the problem. Well, see, this is the problem with that law. See, this is the problem. They can't just change the law for sports, because then that would affect every worker in the United States that is a non-employee. And I'm telling you right now, because I talked to I'm telling you right now, that ain't going to happen, because you got to say, how many contract employees that certain companies on purpose so they don't have to pay them any benefits. And they have no political power because they can't be part of the union. I'm telling you that right there, to your point, because it would affect the greater whole, that ain't happening. Now you talking about when the big business will get us on that side and get with the athletics, So that's where the problem is going to be at, is because they can't collectively bargain. And then you're going to try to restrict their access. And that's why I don't think this is ever going to pass anyway. The bottom line is. But to that point, that's where the catch-22 is. Because you want to restrict something, but they have no way to negotiate to get something. And that's why you're not going to be able to restrict it. And that's the reason why the NCAA actually lost these lawsuits at the beginning that started all this. Because the lawsuit said you were restricting people that you can't restrict. You don't have a right to restrict them. So we're going to see how this plays out, man. I just think this is, interesting, when I saw this. And again, shout out to the commissioners again and understanding, because again, for them, they want to protect. And again, I get it, man. It is just tough to sit back here and to see.
Protect their interests. I mean, it makes lots of sense.
Yeah, it makes a logical sense. So this is going to be our last time talking about this, but I did find this funny. So, of course, the whole world, and even some of y'all black folks, are very interested about Lane Kiffin and what he said about Ole Miss. I'm trying to tell y'all doing shows about it and stuff like that and everything, which is fine, and stuff like that, trying to figure out. And you got black people out there defending which is less racist in different schools. Well, they ain't as racist as this school, and they're. So, man, let me tell you something. So, me and you know this game. I'm going to tell you on the other side, they don't like that Ole Miss done made it come up. So, I'm going to play this video because your boy Steve Carcesian has entered the chat. And I mean, he dropped a shot. And I mean a shot against Ole Miss. So, you know what? I'm going to play Jim Rome because it was pretty funny how Jim Rome laid this out. Talking about Steve Sarkisian, University of Texas coach, and what he said about the academics down there at good old Ole Miss. So we're gonna play this right now. I want you to listen to this on the other side, and we'll talk about this on the other side because this was pretty funny.
Comments were part of a bigger set of complaints that he made to USA Today about the new Wild West of college football. It's just that Sark managed to drop a drive-by scud on Ole Miss while he was making his bigger point. Quote, at Texas, we will only take 50% of a player's academic credit hours. But at Ole Miss, all you have to do is take basket weaving and you can get an Ole Miss degree. End of quote. Damn, Ole Miss. Not just taking strays left and right, but scuds, daisy cutters, whatever weapon of destruction you want to use.
Dad, what do you actually do at work? Project management. Why? I'm doing a career thing for school.
Of course, they would bring it up.
I mean, guys, what are they? Are they racist or dumb? Can you make up your minds, please? Either way, I don't think they're going to like it. Damn, Ole Miss. All you need for a degree at Ole Miss is basket weaving? And here I thought Belgian waffle U was disrespectful to my alma mater. Apparently, Ole Miss is really just basket weaving U. Yeah, right. And every other SEC institution only follows the most rigorous academic standards for their athletes. Sure, they don't. Only Ole Miss. Everybody else is the last bastion of academic integrity. But Ole Miss, you can get by just by weaving a basket. If you can weave a basket in 4 years, you can have a diploma. And better yet, if you can weave a basket in 5, 6, or 7 years, we will give you a diploma. Only Ole Miss. Come on now. Look, there are a lot of issues with college football right now. We all know that. And Sark makes a bunch of legitimate points. He has lots of legit critiques. But nobody is really paying attention to them because social media ran with the basket weaving thing, and nobody really wants to hear the coach of the richest program complaining about how jacked up the system is, even if he's right. Even if he's right, the basket weaving shot at Ole Miss does feel a little bit cheap. And again, look at the graphic. Basket weaving, Ole Miss. On 3. Look at the on 3 graphic if you're looking at the stream. Do you really think that the internet hung around for all of his arguments about NIL, player procurement, the playoff, NCAA, business? No. The internet was not staying around for that. The internet just locked in on basket weaving. On 3, basket weaving. What a graphic. Amazing. Again, I'm just confused why Ole Miss, of all programs, is out here taking repeated bullets this week for apparently no reason at all. Again, all they did was get ghosted by their coach in the middle of their best season ever. Now, I'm not the guy to sit here and try to suss out the merits of what Lane is saying or even what Sark is saying about Ole Miss. I'm just the guy sitting here wondering why we're all trying to specifically bury Ole Miss like this.
So, woo! Now listen. So I'm just gonna show something real quick. Just real quick. Cause let me just show you something which I found interesting. As y'all know, Florida A&M is #1 public HBCU. Oh, wait a minute. Am I still? Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Zo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, hold on. I'll be right back. I think my screen clicked. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
I mean, you good?
Yeah.
But yeah, so y'all, while Steve's in the way to come back up, that video was was quite entertaining. I don't know, man. As a black person listening to all this whole kerfuffle about Ole Miss and LSU and kind of real indifferent about both of them because you're in the middle. You know what I'm saying? You're in the middle of it all. It's hysterical to say the least. We're talking about Ole Miss and LSU, who neither have a great pristine reputation when it comes to the treatment of athletes and black students and black people as a whole. And we're like in throes in the middle of trying to defend one or the other. And I can tell you right now, defending neither one of them.
Well, I just want to show this, and this goes back. So, man, when that shot, I was like, wow, man, that's a shot right there, boy.
It was, but you gotta get to the why the shot was thrown. That's what that's where it loses value. That's him not really, man. He doesn't care about Ole Miss. That's his boy. It's his best friend.
Oh, that's his boy.
That's his best friend on the attack, and so he's coming to the aid of his best friend. I mean, you can see it for what it is.
Well, let me just show you something. So this is why I try to tell people. So I had this in the chamber ready to go. So guess what? LSU, Alabama, Mississippi. Guess who y'all tied with in 92 overall, though? Overall. Florida A&M University. So just to let y'all know, if you ever come out your mouth talking about them SEC schools, and these are some of the higher ranked, because the only ones ranked higher in this is Texas and Vanderbilt, just to let y'all know. Everybody else is, and maybe Florida. But just to let y'all know, Florida A&M University is on par with Alabama, Louisiana State, and Ole Miss. So don't get it twisted when y'all sit up here. So I just find it interesting that these schools that got these $100 million budgets and FAMU who gets cheated every year, that we smoking these suckers. And that's the thing about it. You ain't gonna never say a degree for FAMU is basket weaving. That I can tell you. You ain't gonna never say that about FAMU. So this just tickled me when I saw this whole thing and all these people doing these shows and making these graphics and all that stuff. The kids need to boycott the SEC and all this stuff and everything. Man, listen, let me tell y'all something. And this is the last time we're gonna talk about this on this show. There is no such thing as less racist. Nobody cares about the city the school is in, because I'm going to tell you for a fact, Austin is a hell of a city. It ain't the University of Texas campus. Columbus is a hell of a city. It ain't Ohio State's campus.
No, it's not.
Ann Arbor is a hell of a city. It ain't the University of Michigan's campus. So I'm telling you, what happens is what happens on campus, not what happens in the city.
So the irony, I just thought about it since you put this graphic up. So
no,
basically,
wait a minute. Hold on, Crook. No, that is wait. See, listen, and see. Let me tell you something. Don't make me smoke you tonight. That when you're in the top 100 and you're put, that is excellent, actually. So for those that are 400 and below, you ain't in this conversation. So that's actually excellent. So sorry.
So the irony of this graphic, though, is that, you know, Steve Sarkisian came out to attack Ole Miss, right? Just talk about basket weaving, but yet he didn't mention the same place that his boy is at is on par with the school that does.
That's what I'm saying. They the same school. So it's like, well, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Oh my God, man!
What are we talking about? So it's like, bro, y'all the same. That's why I laughed when I saw this, because I because I read this with FAMU, right? Because again, man, there's nothing funny. Just a quick story. When I was working at IBM, right, and here in Atlanta, and this white guy, I was a manager, and the white guy was a manager. White guy went to Georgia, right? And he said, "Now, where did you go to school at?" I said, "I went to Florida A&M." Well, where is that? So, not being hot, I said, "You heard of Florida State, right?" He said, "Yeah, Florida." So I said, "Oh, you guys are the same city." He said, "So you know," he said to me, "Is FAMU a good school?" I said, So I called these three white boys that work for me. One worked at Georgia, one went to Georgia Tech, one went to Carolina, one went to South Carolina. I said, "Hey, y'all, come over here. Let's just say Joe wants to know about the school I went to. Where y'all went to school at?" "Oh, I went to South Carolina. I went to blah, blah, blah." Apparently, FAMU's good enough to manage these jackwads. So how about that? White boy looked at me and walked on off. Don't play with me, man. Don't play with me about our HBCU. And you could replace FAMU with Jack State, Southern, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Don't play with us. But the fact that he came out there, bruh, and said basket with LSU, and now what you said, yeah, LSU is a part school. Now, this is what we're talking about. It ain't like LSU is Vanderbilt, bruh. It ain't like it's University of Texas. Now, University of Texas, which was interesting that he said that we don't, now this is, so we're going to do another show about this, because I'm going to have to do some research on this, because he said something that was in, we only take half of the credits that we get.
That's not true.
Yeah, I was like,
that may have been, see, the thing that's gaslighting, right? There may have been a particular student because of where, you know what I'm saying, you have a school, right, a kid that went to a particular school. That has that happened before Texas? Sure, it has. I'm quite sure. But that's not a thing where no matter, that's basically saying, I don't care where you go to school at, none of your classes are going to actually travel or, you know, say, be accepted here. So you're going to go halfway back. You can't say that, because every student's situation is different. So he was gaslighting, telling a little false truth, and then trying to let me highlight. So I got to say it in a way that I can seal it so it can hit home when I talk about basket weaving. That's all that was.
Yeah. So I just thought that, man, that's just crazy, man. And listen, man, we all know what Lane Kiffin was doing, man. We all know what it was. He dropped that grenade before he walked up out there. And this is all about, man, listen, one thing about the SEC, negative recruiting and racial recruiting, and that ain't nothing new. That ain't nothing new. We got more black coaches, they got more black coaches. We did this before somebody else. This is what they always do in the SEC. This ain't nothing new. We treat our blacks better than they treat their blacks. Man, let's just stop it. You know what I mean? So again, my thing is, you know, when I saw this about kids, again, boycott, man, listen, I'm going to say this to all the kids in the SEC. I'm not going to ask you to do that, because I already know what all that's about. But what I can ask you, which ain't going to cost none of y'all a dime, is all y'all stand up and tell people to go vote. And you yourself be registered to vote. And you go vote. I don't care who you vote for, but you be the change. Because I tell you a secret, if you actually go vote and tell your peers that you got people following you, then you know maybe something to change. So that's what I want. I want a national day of all black athletes to say to register to vote. I did not say who to vote for, because we ain't about to do this in the chat, because you should vote. Like I said, me and Zoe already told y'all about who y'all should vote for and what's going on. But I'm just talking about that. If that would be so if they had a national day, because you know what about that, Zoe? The white folks would back that up. The white folks would be like, "Oh, that's great. That's also your civic duty." See, you got to know how to play this game sometimes, though. So if all these black athletes get together, and again, then you say, well, how you want to say. But stand up, man. Stand up and vote and everything. And I don't want to hear nothing about their kids and stuff like that, because for all of you all that don't know your history, go look up the Children's Crusade in Alabama. And guess what? These were kids that went out and marched. Because you know why they had to march? Because just like y'all said, their parents, which was smart, they told them, if you go out there and march, we're going to fire you. So guess what? You know what they said? For the better cause of Black America, the kids went out there and marched. the kids, and they were beaten and whooped. But because of those children, y'all could get on this right here, right now. So I just want to say that. All right, so guess what? Baseball season pretty much over. They've come out with the SWAC seeding. Let's take a quick look at this. And shout out to Bethune-Cookman. We're going to give them their flowers because they are the SWAC regular season champions. But Zoe, here we go. I saw some interesting seeding right here, Zoe. We'll start at the top of the bracket right here. So we got FAMU and Texas Southern that'll play game one. Looks like, what's that, May 20th? At 9 a.m. But Zoe, Southern and Jackson State, long-time rivals on anything. It don't matter what y'all do. Y'all could be flipping coins, beer cans, busting out car windows in different cities.
He also talking about the two most baseball championships in SWAC history playing each other.
There you go. There you go, playing each other. And then, of course, somebody going, because, we're going to Texas Southern. We're going to smoke them boys. So we ain't no problem. So one of y'all got to come see us, though. But let's go down to the bottom of the bracket. At the bottom of the bracket, you got the champs, regular season champs, Bethune-Cookman against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Grambling, who got smoked. I think like 23-1 I saw.
Bethune-Cookman, man.
Golly, boy, got smoked. And then Alabama State, who's had a pretty good baseball season this year. They're trying to build their baseball program. Very interesting. Zoe, I got one question for you. Shout out to John Branch, Bethune-Cookman guy. Branch, he's super excited. Oh, we're beating all these schools. That's why I had that Paris school. That ain't nothing new that we have been beating these Power 5 before. But Zoe, Bethune-Cookman's been in this situation before in basketball. Can Bethune-Cookman answer the call, win a check? And if they don't, then what?
They don't, their season over with. But I'm gonna tell you this too. Steve, also you gotta remember the Commissioner Cup is up for grabs in this baseball tournament.
No.
You got Jack State.
Well, while you talking about that, let me see if I can find, while keep talking, so let me see if I find that, because I did hear somebody talking about that. You say this is going to affect the Commissioner's Cup too. If y'all finish out strong.
Well, it depends on where we finish and where Alabama State finishes. We're leading right now, but I think we're leading by, quote me, I want to say I think we're leading by like about 9 or 11 points, or something like that. No, 7 or 9 points. So forgive me. And so, depending on where we finish in this tournament, or Alabama State, if they would have to finish a lot higher to gain the points in their finish to leapfrog Jackson State. But if Jackson State, they control their destiny, obviously. If Jackson State were to finish, I think 4th place or higher, then Jackson State will win the Commissioner Cup this year. I think Alabama State in this conference, you could pull up and see, I believe they have to finish at least 3rd place in the tournament to surpass Jackson State, I believe. It's something along those lines.
You knew exactly where this was at last time, so I'm going to pull this up because you knew where it was at. Because I was here before, and you were like, nah, don't go here. Where do I go find that, the scoring, like overall?
Oh, talk about the for you just go to sports, and then actually no. I tell you what, cancel that. Get off of that, but cancel out the screen that you're on.
Okay.
Like, go to home per se if you could,
Okay.
Because they'll have a tab to the right hand side.
Okay. Hold on a second. I'm talking about this page right here.
You go home, there should be a tab, like a three-way tab.
Right here? This is a SWAC homepage right here.
Yeah, but your screen is different. Hold on, just give me 1 second. Okay. I can actually tell you.
All right.
Give me 1 second. Your screen a little bit different, but I can tell you.
Hey man, yeah, bro, y'all boys been smoking in baseball. Y'all came on strong because we had a little, little bit of a little lull right there in the middle, but that's all right though. We still smoked y'all though. We played y'all, beat y'all. So hey man, we'll see somebody on the other side. Just know that next day, FAMU will be right there. That's the bottom line. Okay, keeping up fans say Jack State's gonna win that cup, man. Crook. Now this is one thing, you can have that cup. Now that is true. Now here's the thing, just to remind some people, FAMU won women's softball, outdoor track, women's outdoor track, women's volleyball, women's indoor track. I think the only thing women that we didn't win was the tennis. I think that's the only thing women-wise, and basketball, of course, we didn't win. So put a shout out to them lady rattlers out there that was letting y'all know. So like I say, I guess we're in our era of women's championships. Let me see here. Let me go ahead. So while you looking and stuff like that. Oh, hold on. Maybe it's this right here. Is it this?
So they changed the way it is on the site.
I remember you could see it, but now I got
they actually changed it because what you were on was actually where it says SWAC Commissioners Cup, but they changed the actual layout of it. Because typically, you know how you would go to any sport and you would have like a little 3-line tab onto the side. You could actually click that, and it would actually pull up Commissioners Cup, and it would have who's leading. They'll have a graphic.
Right here. This might be it. I think I got it. I don't know.
And you will have a graphic, and you click on it, it'll show you the whole entire thing. That's why I said let me look at it. But they've changed it now.
Oh, I thought I just had it.
Actually, Steve, I found it. Steve, they moved it. So go to the home page, just click the SWAC logo, go to the home page, and then just scroll all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
They removed it. That's what it is.
All right. Okay. Here it is. Oh, okay. Yep. Here it is. So Jackson State, you guys are first with 152 points. Alabama State was at 3 points behind.
About 3 points.
Texas Southern. Does Texas Southern have a shot, or if they win? Or do we know?
No, they won't.
Okay. So basically, whoever goes the furthest in this tournament between Jackson State and Alabama State is going to win this thing.
Yeah, but see, that's what I was saying. I think Alabama State has to finish 3rd place or higher, I believe, what it is. What Jackson State can't do, though. Jackson State cannot get. That's why it's important. Jackson State can't get eliminated in 2 straight games.
Okay, so you can't be 2-0. So that opens, if y'all are 2-0, that opens the door for Alabama State.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, so let's just kind of look at this. Southern is 4th with 133 points. FAMU Rattlers at 5th, 123. Prairie View 119. Wait a minute. And then I ain't gonna do it because somebody said I ain't gonna do it because I could have sworn one day up there a couple of weeks ago. I guess not, but I ain't gonna tell that joke. Alabama A&M is 7th, Bethune-Cookman 8th, Arkansas Pine Bluff 9th, Alcorn 10th, Grambling State University 11th, and Mississippi Valley bringing up the rear at 12th. So man, listen, like I say, you know me, I told you I got the Campbell's Cup, man. It's the major sports for the men, major sports for the women. That's my point system. Because like I say, because the thing about it with the Commissioners Cup, every school doesn't play all the sports. So you can get points just because you play a sport. Because like we don't have soccer. Other other SWAC schools have soccer. So whoever won the soccer championship, they got points that we ain't gonna never be able to get anyway.
And see, that was the point too. So Jackson State, and it highlights a point that I actually made last year or in the year prior. Alabama State had won it, I think, quite a few years within the past 5 to 6 years. But it would sound like we were hating when we said, well, it all come with an asterisk because at that point Jackson State didn't have golf. And remember, it was like, we were in 2nd place, so many times. And we're like, well, if we had golf, we would have won the Commissioners Cup. You know what I'm saying? And so that was the thing. And literally the first year that we have golf back, Jackson State's in 1st place. And we've been saying it. And so it's not, again, we're not saying that from a fandom standpoint, we're literally saying we're in 2nd place, so we had no chance to win because, again, we didn't, because Alabama State, when they really started to win it quite a bit, was because of track and field. Track and field and baseball was the thing that was pushing them over the hump. And for Jackson State, the issue was because we didn't have men and women's golf, which, as you know, went from the advent of the sport in the conference, Jackson State ran that. I mean, for decades under the legendary coach Eddie Payton. And so the moment we got rid of it, we were like you say, Steve, if you're missing the sport, you got to be excellent in so many others, right?
Right.
And you're at a disadvantage just by numbers anyway. When you're talking about the least amount of sports. And but again, like we said, cream rise to the top. The moment we bring those 2 sports back in this level playing field, Jackson State's in 1st place. And so, it's not always about winning every sport, but winning helps. But when you have a lot of 2nd place finishes, a lot of 3rd place finishes, those actually get you points because what it measures is you're a great athletic program across the board through all sports. And so, You know, that was the thing. And again, kudos to Alabama State because again, they are in the thick of the throes with all their Olympic sports to, you know, have them in place for this. And
That's
you know,
facts.
the only common schools who actually would be in contention for this would be Alabama State, Jackson State, and Southern.
Oh, okay. Because they got the majority of sports. Is that what it is? Everything.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, man. Listen.
And the majority of the championships, you know, those were the three. You know, Jack State, Southern, and Alabama State.
Well, man, listen. You know, like I say, and we always talk about the big sports and things like that. But you know, shout out to the players that play all the sports because they are champions. Again, track and field, golf, bowling, tennis, all those different ones. You know, things.
Hey man,
like
you look
that.
at Jack State starting quarterback is
throwing the javelin, bro.
Throwing the javelin.
Yeah, I saw that. Hey man, that was I think he almost came in third or something, right? Or I know when his throw was third at the time, so I don't know if he medaled or not. But I saw that. I said, man, I was like, man, that is crazy, you know. But again, that just shows you how strong his arm is and stuff like that. Hey man, listen, this is Sipping on Sundays with me, Zoe Phillips, North Jackson's finest, man. Had a great show tonight, man. Listen, I'm gonna give y'all suckers a chance to come on up real quick, make it short. And I'm gonna say this. Said I'm gonna address this to you, and I'm gonna be super serious. Let me tell you something about me, man. One thing about me, I don't disrespect nobody. And I'm gonna explain this for y'all in the back, like I had to explain it. The tiers are not about levels of competence. It's about right of first refusal because of the contracts. The SWAC, first refusal is ESPN. Then it goes to HBCU Go. And then it goes to SWAC TV. So apparently ESPN sees value. They select certain schools. HBCU Go, what's left? They select certain schools. And then SWAC TV, which is great, which is awesome. Because like you said, we did get to see Prairie View and Texas Southern. I watched that game on SWAC TV. We've seen some great games. But we're not talking about the quality of production. We're talking about how the contracts work. So
Well,
just to be clear on that.
Let me add more teeth to that because the one thing I don't like I always say, man, if you want to, you know, talk about what we say or what I say, or try to speak for me or try to paraphrase for me, I'm right here. I speak for myself. I've said repeatedly, I am an avid fan of HBCU Go. I'm on wax stated that multiple times. So whatever thing that you may think that you want to try to, you know what I'm saying, twist or say, or think that you've heard or try to paint to say, oh, well, according to you, you know, you wouldn't like this or we wouldn't like this. That's bull jive. You know, I'm on wax from the very onset, from the very first football game years ago and every year. And I think we're all in unison stating how much we love HBCU Go and how couldn't you, right? But if we actually speak about ESPN or anything else, you know what I'm saying, we would basically state to what it is. ESPN is a, you know, the first tier, first right of refusal because they have the statutory rights for the SWAC network. And if it were up to me, yeah, I would love it to be on HBCU Go for them to take first or precedent. But just because I may even myself, because I have said I would love for the SWAC to have a contract with Netflix, for an example, or Amazon Prime. Me saying that I like that is not me saying that I could care less or wouldn't want it to be on HBCU Go. Because find me on video saying that I don't like HBCU Go or I think it's a lackluster quality or I minimize HBCU Go. You can't find it because I never said it. I've been championing HBCU Go for the moment that it's been in the moment of its creation. So to sit here and get some comments and say some bull jive like that, like, man, it's, look, bro, I don't have any whatever think you think what it is in regards to my love for my school or this perceived disdain you think I may have for Prairie View. I don't hate Prairie View. There's nothing to hate. You know, I champion all HBCUs. And again, I just look at the lexicon of where they fall with my school and other schools within this landscape. But I don't have any hate for Prairie View. You know, anything that Prairie View does well, I champion that as well. Mississippi Valley, who doesn't have a winning pedigree outside of softball within this conference. And Lord knows all the things that I can bring down on Valley, but you don't hear me trashing Valley as an institute. I don't have no disdain for Valley, you know what I'm saying, or any other institution. Now, as a fan, do I have some disdain for the Bays Bastards and Baton Rouge? Yes, it is, but that's a rivalry. They've beaten us, we've beaten them, right? But guess what? It starts and it ends there. I don't have a personal disdain for Southern University. I have family there. I have tons of friends there. I don't have any personal hate for any HBCU. So to get here and be capping the line on stuff like that, man, it ain't cool. So just know, like, I have no issue with HBCU go. So you can all that foolishness right there, but that's all I got.
That's fine, because like I say, we had the CEO on here. That's all you need to know what they think about us. That's all I'm gonna leave you like that. How about that? All right, so I'm gonna let, I guess, my better judges. I'm gonna give you, fam, maybe a minute to sit back, because because one thing I'm gonna do, and let me tell y'all something real quick, and I'm gonna be totally honest. I appreciate you all taking the time to watch us, and that really means a lot, because you don't have to do it. There's a lot of other people doing different things. There are other shows on at this time, but you guys faithfully come on here on a Sunday or on a Monday or even on a Tuesday, and you watch us, and we really appreciate that, man. And it means a lot, because, man, again, we do this for the love of this community. We love y'all. I mean, I appreciate you all, man. Like I say, shout out to the Off Script Network. Shout out to the Rocky Mill channel for giving us the opportunity to do this. Man,
and Steve, hold on. Let me since you're saying that, let me say this too. And yeah, definitely love every last one of you guys for tuning in and watching this. And Steve, I got to tell you, man, listen, when I'm out and about, man, look, let me tell you, whether it's Home Depot, Lowe's, K. Roger, Target, I mean, I'm out and about in the city when I'm off, man. I can't begin to tell you, Steve, how many times. Zo Philip, what's up, man? Look, man, I'm a fan. We tune in, we watch, we check you guys out, man. I love what y'all doing. It's every day, bro. And look, they give me the love, I give it right back.
Yeah.
Because again, like you stated, you don't have to watch us, you don't have to, do anything with any of it, right? And so, good, bad, or indifferent, man. Look, it ain't personal for me. I promise it ain't. You know what I'm saying? We here because we love it just like y'all do. And again, man, just want to give y'all shout out, kudos for tuning in, watching. And it's not about it. And let me just say this too. It's not about being agreeing on everything, because even if Steve and I, if we talk, hell, if we're always in agreement on everything, then guess what? He don't need two of us up here. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that, it's not about that. And I welcome discourse. I welcome, a challenge to, whatever it is, opinion that I may have. We may not always agree, but that don't mean it's going to be some animosity or any type of anything, even in public. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I love my people. I love my school. And guess what? I know you love yours the same. So it is what it is. Don't go no further than that with me. Like, man, look, I go on the road. I have plenty of people from other schools. Oh, they're so filled. They got something to say. And guess what? I still show love. Because again, look, I'm 6'4". It ain't hard to miss me in public. You know what I'm saying? And but I don't care where I'm at, man. Whether I'm in Tallahassee, Baton Rouge, Grambling, make my way to Prairie View, it does not matter. Man, whether you like me, don't like me, agree or don't agree, man, I'm gonna show love regardless, because I root for my J-State Tigers, and I know whoever is in front of me or that's not with J-State, you love your school and your institution just as much as I love mine. So it is what it is. But outside of that, I do appreciate every last one of y'all tuning in, showing love, shout me out. And whenever we're in town or we have a crossover with each other. So kudos to all of y'all.
Yeah. All right, let's bring this joke up. All right, fam, listen, I know you watched the show. I'm going to give you a minute. You be succinct, make a point, and get up out of here. What you got?
All right, before I get started, I just want to say, because I'm going to say this each and every time I get on here, this is for the MEAC and the SWAC. You must come together as a collective, and you must do group economics. Let's just start there. Now for my question. What is the conversation as far as HBCUs ending their deal with ESPN in 2027? Is it a move to TNT with the passing of Ted Turner, who owns TBS and TNT? Is it a move to TBS or TNT? Is that the next move? Or is it solely to be on HBCU Go and SWAC TV?
All right.
What is the next move after 2027?
Turner has owned TBS and TNT and God know like 25 years. So let's start there. So so I won't be clear on that. He sold that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I won't be clear on that. Second of all, so you go ahead. It sounds like you had to answer.
I was just going to state that, I let's look at it from big picture, right? To answer your question. First off, let's go with what we know and what we see, and let's just look at the pattern of how the SWAC moves, right? The SWAC, as you know it, doesn't make these grandiose, shocking moves. They haven't. That's not the MO. And you have enough data over the past 30 years to determine that. So I can answer that. No, the SWAC is not going to TBS or TNT because that's not, they don't even make moves like that in any shape, form, or fashion for any sport. They don't. And they aren't as forward thinking with regards to their moves, right? We've seen enough. So if you see anything outside of it, it will shock all of us. That's fair enough to say. I would like for the SWAC to possibly do something, like I've stated, with Amazon Prime or Netflix. I think that's a game changer type thing. But again, they don't typically move that way. So I had to guess, which I still think will be a good move. I personally think the SWAC is going to re-up with ESPN. I don't think that they're going to unsign with them just because of what it is. ESPN is the title sponsor. It's their game. They created the Celebration Bowl when they started with their events, as well as things that they've done with the SWAC MEAC Challenge. Those things are at play. So I think what would be a game changer or a wow moment would be if the SWAC were to sign their priority rights over the HBCU Go. That would be something that would be big. But again, does HBCU Go have the advertisers and things of that nature to warrant that type of move with the resources, for that on their territory rights deal? I don't see that happening, So I don't think I can see, to answer your question, would be them going to HBCU Go. I don't see the SWAC making a move over to any other network, or a major network or things of that nature. They haven't done that. So if it were up to me, if you were to ask me, I believe the SWAC will re-sign with ESPN, possibly try to make more money to get more skin in the game that way. But outside of that, I don't see them going over to another network, but they are not. I repeat, they are not going to TBS or TNT.
That's 100%.
Okay. Now, next question.
Last comment. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that. My last question is, with that being said, with the comparisons of the numbers that have been generated with SWAC TV, in comparison to the Mountain West, or let's just say hypothetically, let's just say the MAC conference, what is the dollar mark when it comes to renegotiating the deal with ESPN? What does that look like in the year of 2028?
I can't say because that's a hard, to be honest, that's a hard question to answer from our standpoint when you talk about hard numbers, right? Because again, you don't even have, and I say you, I mean we, there is no data that's put out there as to what the SWAC is even doing on a consistent basis to warrant the number that they're going to get. Those things aren't out there for the mass public. And when you talk about a MAC, now what we can surmise to kind of help us out, that's why when we talk about attendance, that matters, because that is a raw number that you can use as a metric to gauge interest, right? So when you sit there, let's just say we look at the MAC, right? And we can go school by school, right? When we talk about just attendance, right? Well, the SWAC actually surpasses the MAC in that regard. And the MAC, as you know, has they have a deal with ESPN where they have their games on Tuesday. So the barometer that you can kind of gauge, right? Because guess what? If we're doing significantly better than them in attendance, and we know from a game by game, now maybe we need somebody to take viewership numbers week by week. And maybe, Steve, that's something that we can do this upcoming season, right? We could take numbers week by week on viewership to try to create a metric so we can see the type of eyeballs that are actually going on SWAC games. But to answer your question, it's going to be hard to sit there and say, what the dollar value would actually look like in regards to leveraging a contract and as juxtaposed to the MAC conference or even the Sun Belt for that matter. I personally like to use the SWAC as a barometer to the Sun Belt because the Sun Belt has the same footprint as the SWAC. It's an FBS conference. It's a really good football conference. And I think if the SWAC, or let's just say the SWAC by itself, or if we were to merge and have an HBCU super conference, I think the Sun Belt will be a great conference as a barometer to gauge yourself against an interest. And the same thing applies to like your last statement. The SWAC is doing better in attendance than those schools in the Sun Belt Conference. That's a barometer that you can measure yourself with. Now, but again, when we talk about raw numbers and viewership between the SWAC and the Sun Belt, it's hard to get the data for what the SWAC is doing week in and week out for every team to measure up what it is against the Sun Belt. So to answer your question, I didn't mean to be long-winded. It's extremely hard to gain what that number is to know how we'll gauge to truly answer that question. For we talk about figures in regards to a contract for a TV deal.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and I just pulled it up. So the SEC has a 10-year, $3 billion media rights agreement with ESPN and ABC. I've always said this, and this is just my raw number. We got to be worth anywhere between 3 to 5% of the SEC. 3 to 5%. That's just me personally. If I had just said, now I understand there's other things that go along with it and stuff like that. But if you just told me, what do I think the SWAC is worth? It's got to be, because we overlap the same footprint. And I would dare say, which again, and well, actually, I actually showed this years ago when Scotty first brought this up. Our buying power of our alums is higher than the SEC. Now they have more alums. So as they said, there's a given between quantity versus quality. You know what I mean? But I use the quality example. There's a reason why ABC, NBC, and CBS show golf. You know why? Because people that play golf have a lot of money. So the people that sell stocks, bonds, big cars, Mercedes-Benz and stuff like that, they'll sponsor that because they know they're going to get that target. So I say the same thing, which again, and listen, man, I want to be very clear. Commissioner McClellan, I'm telling you, you got this thing on track. We just talking because we know you're moving in that right direction. You made that partnership with HBCU go. But I'm telling you this, and you know it. Man, gangster them folks, man. Let them folks know you got a great product. And again, working with people like HBCU Go, where you can, because this is the thing, so everybody needs content. And it's always amazing to me, no matter what, Black folks' content is always more interesting. We drive the needle on all types of stuff.
And
so
Stephen,
go ahead.
I was going to say something. I was reading her comment. I just want to say this because you mentioned McClellan, right? And I want to say this, and this is no attack on Dr. McClellan. But see, knowing the man, right, and knowing that he's a commissioner, he's doing some great things. But what we don't know how aggressive he is as a commissioner when it comes to not saying we know that he believes, in all things within this conference, right? We know this. But again, what we don't know is we don't know what his temperament is like in regards to getting deals done for this conference. Getting a deal done doesn't, and we can say that he's doing great work, but we don't know how aggressive he is. When we talk about that potential buying power that you mentioned, we do, but we don't know how aggressive he is in acquiring the things that he's acquiring. This is not to say that I'm not saying that he's not being aggressive. I want to make sure I make that clear. What I'm saying is because we see the man, we don't know, and we don't get to see how, what his business acumen is, what he's turned down, what he's actually going for. We're not privy to that. We don't see that. Just like, again, sometimes he could be methodical in his approach, but we don't know if he's methodical in his approach or if he's aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know those things. It would be nice to have an answer for that. That's the one thing we can't get, that we don't know, that I wish we had more of a pulse or a feel for.
So I want you to answer this question on this screen right here. He says, how does the Southland Conference out recruit you? They don't have HBCU Go, SWAC TV, ESPN2, and they get players get drafted. Wait, okay. What players they getting drafted? That's the first thing. You do know, we already know how many FCS players they got drafted, right? So you acting like they got first rounders that's getting drafted. So I want to ask you a question. I was looking at this.
I got a better question. See, okay, I'm glad he made this comment. And forgive me on this, Steve. So this is the problem when people make diatribes or say stuff like this. I would always ask, okay, if you're saying this, give me a reference, give me a starting point on when they did what you're perceiving that they do. Give me a reference point and a starting point, because just saying that, with all due respect, it sounds like you're just pulling something out of your ass when you say that. Because, I like to give a starting point for when I'm giving my answer. You know what I'm saying? Because, okay, let's just say from the year 2000 to now, right, Steve? From 2000 to now, that's 26 years. How many first round draft picks does the Southland Conference have? I got an answer for you because I could tell you. I can tell you that it's less than the SWAC, right? When we look at overall draft picks, just from the conference alone, who has more draft picks, the Southland Conference or the SWAC? I can tell you it's the SWAC. So the SWAC isn't what it needs to be, and I think, Steve, we all can agree to that. But the thing is, our worst is still better than a lot of other conferences' best. And that's the thing that people seem to, don't seem to understand. No, we aren't where we need to be. We aren't what we used to be. But do y'all understand the SWAC has 3 first-round draft picks since 2000? 3. No other FCS conference has that. I want people to understand that. The SWAC has the most first-round draft picks since 2000 of all FCS conferences. I want y'all to take a guess at which conference leads the FCS in draft picks overall. I don't think y'all understand that. No, we aren't where we are in the past 15 years. But when you factor in since 2000, and look, let's not go all time, because if we go all time, it's going to really look bad. So I get it, and we can't live off the past. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I always try to give a reference point. So if you want to say since 2 years ago, but honestly, I don't keep up with the Southland enough to know to really gauge that, right? But the Southland Conference is not it's not the Big Sky Conference. It's not. It's not, or the Missouri Valley. The Big Sky of the Missouri Valley they're getting the most draft picks right now.
Right.
It's not the Southland Conference. So if I'm the SWAC, I don't care about the Southland is not my measuring stick. And to be honest, the SWAC measuring stick really is the SWAC, because we need to get back to what we used to do.
Right.
It's not the Big Sky. Now, if we say, hey, we want to get to what the Big Sky is doing right now, then we can say that. But the Southland Conference is not a measuring stick for the SWAC. Never has and never will be.
Yeah, I just sit up here when I saw that, man, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So this is my thing. I'm gonna say to this, right? Because first of all, they definitely don't have draft pick. But I tell you what, I'm curious about is I'm looking at these schools, right? And we line up the SWAC schools with these schools. And you know what? I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna pick the schools. I'm gonna bring the top SWAC schools, and I'm gonna bring the top MEAC schools. Because see, the problem is you can't put Valley and UAPB in this because it's not fair, because we know how underfunded they are. But I tell you what, I'd be interested if we had a Southland HBCU challenge, and I get to pick who play. Stephen F. Austin, I think will probably beat everybody. But you know what? Look how big Stephen F. Austin is. I tell you everything else, I think it'd be a toss-up. If you brought South Carolina State, Central, and we're going to bring Delaware State, right? Bring them. And I'm going to leave out UAPB and Valley, and that's going to place. And you telling me, well, how many schools they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
like nine or 10.
So I get my 9 best HBCUs versus this 9 right here. I'm telling you, if at worst we 500, and I'm gonna give them, because see, I'm gonna switch this thing up, because I'm gonna give them Stephen F. Austin, whoever they play. I'm gonna give you that. I'm giving you Stephen F. Austin. Everybody else, because I tell you what, that UTGV. If I put South Carolina, and again, we talking about from last year, right? If I put Jack State, to me, and like I said, again, I know Prairie View, y'all beat Jack State, but I'm just talking about if we got a fully healthy team, I believe South Carolina State or Jack State beats those guys.
Yeah, but that's University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Let me just say this.
That's who Prairie View played.
That's who Prairie View played. Let me say this, though. Okay, let's say you take away Stephen F. Austin, Southeastern, and UTRGV, right? Well, guess what? Lamar has lost to the SWAC. McNeese has lost to the SWAC. I mean, you got Incarnate Ward, who's fallen off. Grambling beat East Texas A&M. ACU, Norfolk State. We've beaten these teams, so it's not like, that's what I'm saying. It's not. We match up with this conference, and we actually probably should be playing them a lot more often. But we match up with this conference. It's not like, even right now, if you were to match this conference up, and again, it all come down to who you schedule and who's playing who and who was good and who's not. That's really what it will come down to. But outside of that, we can actually play this and have a thing with them on a football weekend. And if the SWAC could, I think would actually do better than 500. I'm not saying that we're going to sit here and be 7-2, but what's wrong with 6-3?
No,
what's wrong? Watch this. What's wrong with going 5-4? You're 5-4. That's above 500, and you won it. That's doable. That can happen.
And I'll tell you this. And again, because it goes in cycles and things like that. But that year, when FAMU went to the playoffs and you guys, Alabama State was good, Southern was pretty good. You know what I'm saying? It like I say, this all is silly, but I'm just telling you, acting like this conference is so far ahead of SWAC. I'm not going for that. And you know, I'm not going for that. I'm not going for that at all. And like I said, I think if it was lined up, and Herb just said it, man, you know what? Hey man, we could call it, like I say again, nothing against Valley and Arkansas, but I'm talking about we going in to win. So we bringing in all our hitters. Like you say, Zoe, hey, HBCU Pride versus Southland Conference. And let's just tee it up. Let's just have a weekend, week 0. We line it all up. And then you know what? I'm going to say this again. Everybody that wins, then you know what I'm going to compare? I'm going to compare the budgets. Then I'm going to see what people say then. Because I tell you what we don't want to do is compare these budgets. Because I'm curious to see, because I don't know, you guys lose, I don't know. What does Southland get compared to Southern? I know Southland, Southeastern. I know they get more money than Grambling. I know that for a fact. Now, I don't know what Southern gets versus Southeastern. We know what that Rio Grande Valley gets more than Prairie View. Lamar. Does Nichols get more than Southern? Probably. Come on, man. Like I say, this thing here, so I just want to point that out when he said that. And hey, you know what? And I'm saying this to whoever the brother pointed out. Hey, man, it was a great, you know, when you said it, I said, that's interesting. Let me talk about this real quick before we get up off of here, man. You know, I think that is a thing. And yeah, Herb, right here, definitely that should be in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely should be in basketball. I totally agree on that. So, man, you know, I just wanted to point that out. So listen, we're going to close it out, man. Like I said, we had a great show, man. Shout out to the CEO of HBCU Go, Curtis Simons, that came on to talk about the legendary Charlie Neal. Man, I just think that was just great. Like I say, so, you know, we have to pull out the big hitters. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, we try to separate us. And trust me, man, I got another, like I say, my daddy's friend said, I'm going to call somebody else that might have actually hired Charlie Neal. So y'all know who that name is. I'm going to let y'all Google, figure out who that is. I might have him on the show because I know folks. If we get him on, get our Mississippi homeboy on there, so then we shut some things down. You know, maybe he'll sponsor us or something. You know what I'm saying? You know, put a little money behind Sippin on Sundays or something like that. But so what you got before we get up out of here?
Not much, man. Just you know, great show, man. Get the set the tone for the week, and now, man, just getting ready, man. Look, it's May. We got 2 more weeks left, and SWAC Media Day is approaching us. SWAC Media Day will be the end of next month, I believe.
Yep.
So football season is coming, man. It's coming. Got 2 more weeks for the football magazines come out. I'm gonna see where my JSU Tigers gonna be picked to win again. But outside of that, man, just good show. And again, man, rest in peace to Charlie Neal, the GOAT, the legend, man. He will surely be missed. Because now, you know, from the onset of HBCU Go, it's been him. So now you talk about HBCU Go, it's gonna have a different tone and tenor to it. Interested to see who they're gonna get to fill in to replace him. But his void would definitely
but that light-skinned brother, I think it was the light-skinned brother, he does play-by-play too, don't he? Or is he color? No, he's a color guy, ain't he? The light-skinned guy.
Man, listen, I just listened to Charlie Neal. I couldn't even say who else was there, Steve. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. But they've got a deep bench. I think that first of all, there's no Charlie Neal. Okay, like there's no Keith Jackson. So, but I think that what I will say about what HBCU has gone, like if you watch multiple games, you know what I'm saying? Coach Cole has done color for HBCU Go. They have done a really good job, and I'm talking about they can have MEAC or SWAC, but then they got CIAA and SIAC, right? Showing, and you can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference because I watched several of those Albany State games when Quinn was coaching, you know, just because I knew Quinn was coming, just to see how his offense run. And, man, those games were incredible, the way they were producing things like that. So, yeah, man, I just think that's great, man. So let me just kind of tell you guys what's going on. So next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. We will be off. We will not be on Sunday or Monday. The following weekend, we definitely will not be on Sunday. I am going down to Daytona Beach for my godbaby, grandbaby, baby. She's graduating, and she's going to be a future rattler. So I got to go down there and see her walk from high school. So I'm going down to Daytona Beach. And I probably will not be back in time on Sunday. We might do it on Monday if there's something really going on. If not, we'll take a little 2-week break, and then we'll come back strong in 2 weeks. And that's probably what we'll do. So we'll probably just take 2 weeks off. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no need to rush it and everything. So we're gonna take 2 weeks off unless something big happens. Then we'll jump on. If it's something crazy happens, me and so we'll jump on. So man, listen, I want you all to enjoy your holiday weekend, man. Be safe out there, man. I will be down in New Orleans, Louisiana. So my southern folks, if you know it, holler at your boy. Tell me where I need to go. I will be down there from Thursday till Monday, hanging out.
I got a list for you.
Oh yeah, well listen, hey man, listen, New Orleans is my second home, but I need to know where's Cedric? Hey man, where I need to go at, man? Where I need to go. So give me that list. You know what I'm saying?
I got a list for you.
Hey man, I'm gonna have the Escalade clean. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I get down, I'm go over there, let them boys watch that thing, bro. Let me watch that thing. You know what I'm saying? Come on, bro. Watch my truck there, bro. So I'm gonna let them watch that thing and get on them streets. And hey man, let me know where I don't need to go. Cause I don't need my windows busted out. You know what I'm saying? Say, hey Campbell, don't be driving the Escalade over there. Cause man talking about they pulled out that thing on them one time over there in the east. So I can't hang out there in the east no more. That's used to be my spot. But nah, we downtown, man. We downtown. We're gonna be downtown hanging out and stuff like that. But man, so I want to tell you this. I really appreciate you doing this show with us, man, and with me. And us doing this thing, man, because I think we're doing it. And then it's our brother. Hey, man, yes, we do miss Scotty, man. We do miss Scotty. And Scott, hey, man, listen, let me tell you something. Scotty's doing well. He is doing very well. And for right now, his mission right now is got him down to Alabama A&M. So let's pray for him. Let's keep him up. Hey, man, when we just on the channel now, he'll be back, man. But like I said, just our time to hold it down. And we're going to have other people. Of course, we're going to get Perry back on here. HBC Coaches Corner should be on Tuesday night. With the Tennessee State track coach.
You just mentioned Perry. Let me cut you out, man. Shout out Perry's mom, man. Just got another degree. I'm gonna shout out Perry's mom, man. Just got a degree. I believe at Pine Bluff. I believe. I could be wrong, but still want to shout out Perry White's mom for getting another degree, man.
Yeah, well, that's what we do, man. That is what we do. So, man, super excited, man. So listen, man, I'm just gonna tell you this, man. From Sippin on Sundays, all we got is one question: what you sipping on? See y'all later.